G'day Exiles, and welcome back for another Q&A for 3.29. We are joined here by, it's a little bit cozier here than usual. We have game director Mark Roberts, along with lead game designers on Path of Exile 1, Octavian and Andrew. And Andrew, welcome. This is your first time joining us on the Q&A. It's good to have you here. You have been on some other podcasts and things in the past before, but it's exciting to have you all here for the podcast. I kind of want to give people a bit of a lay of the land of like what it is that each of you, like Octavian and Andrew, work on for Path of Exile, so people can kind of understand where your expertise lies, maybe.
Yeah, so for Path of Exile 1, I've been working on it for primarily for quite a few years now. And typically I'll dip my hands into everything and related to the expansion. However, in the last few expansions, Chris has been handling the majority of the league stuff, and I typically handle most of the other bits and bobs. So yeah, for example, in this one, things like Mercenary and Legion and the balance, I would have had a hand in.
Yeah, and you certainly did a lot on the balance side of things. It looks like you did 150 skills or something.
When the patch notes come out, you'll see the changes there. So
it's a lot.
That's a later nuke. So.
And what about for you, Octavian? What do you kind of focus on for people who are not familiar?
So the last few leagues, Mercenaries, Mirage, and now Curse of the Allflame, I've been sort of leading the design on the league mechanic itself. And then basically wherever else I'm needed. So this time around, I did the new Abyss Pinnacle boss. So you can blame me if he kills you. I did a bunch of new uniques, some transfigured skills that'll be in the patch, because that's a pet project of mine. I really like transfigured skills. And probably some other stuff I'm forgetting. But yeah, I mean, mostly the league this time. It's a chunky one.
Yeah. I mean, that was where I was originally planning on starting, was like talking about Curse of the Allflame, where we collect chat's questions and then dive into some of the other things, Mirage, Abyss, Legion, balance, crafting. There's a lot of things to talk about today. But obviously the biggest news is the socket color change. It's the one everyone kind of seems to want to know about from what I've seen. It's a weird one because it's such a long-standing tradition, and there is I felt like the initial I feel like I should be mad or something, but I was like, but I'm not. I'm curious, how did this one come about after being unchanged for so long?
We actually discussed this change on Mirage launch day. So
okay,
often on just to give some history to it. So on launch day, when there isn't a burning fire,
nice.
We're all sitting there designing okay, what are we doing next? What are we starting on Monday? I know people think we have a long plan ahead. We don't. Launch day is when we design the next set of content. And a thing that we decided is we worry the message now is that PoE 2 is for the new audience and PoE 1 is for the existing audience only. And it is obviously for the existing audience, obviously. But we also want to make sure we're bringing in new players. And we want to make sure that that audience is growing. Because if you aren't growing the audience, it's only got one way to go, right?
Right.
That's down. Now, hopefully, it'd be naive to assume it can just sustain the exact same numbers forever with the exact same players, right? People do eventually move on.
Yeah.
Whatever. So we want the audience to grow. And so when we actually go and look, or when we were discussing this with Mirage, we're like, let's actually think, why are people, getting into the game and then stopping playing? What are the points of friction and where we're losing the audience? And sockets is a huge one. Now, we had already discussed this for PoE 2 because PoE 2 removed skill gems off gear, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of already were a bit educated in this, and we're like, but the line we drew, some people were like, why not remove them entirely off the gear like you did with PoE 2? But there are, I would say, I feel this way, and a number of people feel this way, when first playing PoE 1, fifth, sixth, whatever, long time ago.
A decade and a half ago.
There were two things about the game that really caught me and my group of friends and propagated along, and maybe you guys feel the same way, I'm not sure, which was, I opened the passive tree and fell in love, and I also was like, holy, skills are in your gear and the links are in your gear. That is that's awesome. That's the innovation behind that is so cool. So not wanting to lose the skills and sockets in gear in PoE 1, I think is, it's a personal line, sure, but I think a lot of people share it, of not wanting to lose that entirely, but also it doesn't need to be having so many layers of friction. And so obviously you got the numbers, you got the links, and then you got the colors. And often what we're finding is that, sure, seasoned players, veterans, they work around it, sure. But, or honestly, they don't even necessarily, I talk about the gear upgrades, sometimes you don't even need the gear upgrades. You know, you can just, once you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. But yeah, we're finding a lot of players early game who are struggling, who are trying to get those gear upgrades, just can't. And often it's because of the colors.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, we want to remove that friction, but also we don't want to just like simplify it down to nothing, because we still want in-game players to have an access of itemization that's important. And so we're like, we still want the colors to come in. We still want it to be important for upgrading your gear. We want it to be a chase end-game thing players can do. And we honestly think that this hits both of those, and it now allows a lot of people to get into the game easier, make upgrades of their gear without going, I don't know what to do. Like my gear's been the same since level 3 because I can't replace this, or like one piece of gear or another piece of gear. And because they don't want to break their links or their skills or their support. So yeah, honestly, that's where it came about. And but the broader discussion is like, we need to get people in the door. We need to get people to stop quitting. And we need to have like when they get overwhelmed and they're like, I don't know what to do. It feels complicated. And this was part of that. So, you know, I wouldn't expect this to be the last change along that axis of us going, let's remove these barriers of entry. You know, in the future, we want to make more. But yeah, honestly, I think, you know, generally speaking, almost everyone internally has been pretty positive. But everyone has that, whoa, you're changing this sacred thing. And even we had it. When we were in the room, we're like, oh, are we doing this?
Are we allowed to do this?
Like, what? Do we need to... You know, like, hold on, do we need to like call a council of the founders here? Like, do we, what are we supposed to do here? Like,
well, I kind of heard that basically did happen. Yeah. Like, you guys called around to some of the other people.
Yes, we did, yes. Yeah. So it was, even we were like, are we allowed? But then also I think it is really important that we can reassess these fundamentals and actually go and say, no, this needs to change. Now, hopefully it's amazing, and hopefully everyone finds it to have less friction and late game get better itemization and all of that. But you know, these things, if they don't quite land, we're always just going to make another iteration and change it. That's what we do. I
was like, so I've done a playthrough of the campaign while here, and I with this in particular, because I had that feeling like, oh, it's so sacred and so ancient. I feel like I was coming at it from an angle of being hypercritical, looking for any potential issues with it, but it felt like it was just so much easier to change gear and swap my gear around. Like, ultimately, that's the thing. You talk about this for a lot for new players, but I see this as like a huge win for long-term players, because playing a game for over a decade, you start to notice these kind of points of exhaustion is kind of what I think of them as, where
True.
You're like, oh, this just grinds me down a little bit each league.
That is something I did. It was intended for a newer audience, but 100% all the feedback from Alpha, from internal, you know, our designers and QA generally has been like, hell yeah.
It just makes the campaign smoother. I'm using a greater variety of gear. I'm upgrading my gear more often. It feels good. And the quality one surprised me a bit, because that is actually like you don't usually interact with quality at all in the campaign. You're not going to get any GCPs until end game, right? But that I was actually kind of looking at the quality on my gems, and, you know, I was like, oh, this really benefits from that. I'm getting an extra spark on my spark while I'm leveling, and, you know, so that felt like actually a pretty fun thing to engage with, and getting one socket color here and there felt like a meaningful thing. So
it worked out really nicely as an axis for still rewarding getting, you know, some of the correct colors.
Yeah.
Because quality innately is much more powerful on your active skill than it is your support gem.
Yeah.
So it's kind of okay if you only have a few of the colors, because you put your strongest skill in the you know, you put your strongest gem in your links, which is your active skill, into the color that it matches. And then it's nice to get the other colors correct, but, you know, getting the other colors correct is like 5% increased damage, whereas getting the one color you really need correct, which is quite easy to do, is, you know, potentially an extra projectile or 10% more damage or something like that.
Yeah, every time a chrome dropped, I was like looking for a good base to drop that on, so that I could, you know, chuck my spark gem or something else in there.
It has the added bonus of there's another currency that's like it's not like a divine orb level ding when you drop it, but it's nice to see. You're excited to see a chromatic now and then.
Yeah, it was kind of
Which
funny
is
that
cool.
like chromatic went from being like less valuable than jewelers and fusings to being the most value out of those now.
Yeah, just to clarify, chromatics are much rarer now than they were before.
Yes.
I won't say exactly how rare they are, but we've made changes to, like, for example, if you vendor a 6-socket item that has chromatic colors, you won't get
was
7 jeweler orbs, you'll get a chromatic orb instead.
Oh, I was wondering if there was some sort of recipe. I thought you guys might keep it secret or something.
Oh no, that's the existing chromatic recipe. That still works.
Okay.
But it has higher priority than the jeweler's
Our
orb
list,
one.
our list of recipes, if it meets 2 conditions, there's always
see.
it has an order of precedence. So we moved the chromatic above the
Because it's
jewelers.
more valuable
Yes,
now. I see. That makes sense. Did you guys have to mess with quality at all now that there's going to be kind of 30% is just going to be somewhat wildly available now? Like, does that break anything?
No, it is basically a bit power creepy. But
Yeah.
I think we had to make a number of changes to existing uniques that interacted with socket colors. But I think the only one that really got a nerf was Diala's Malefaction. Instead of granting 30% quality to green socket gems, it's now 20%.
Okay.
But if you put a green socket gem in, it's 30%, which is what it had before. So
And that's my follow-up question is there's uniques that interact with socket colors. Have these sorts of things been updated? In particular, I was like wondering, like, do you guys do anything with tabula rasa or just kind of leave it, I imagine? I don't know.
it didn't need to change.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
that kind of just
6 link.
works, doesn't
6
it?
link, still a 6
Still
link,
six-
yeah.
Still 6 link.
Yeah, what Skin of the Loyal and Lords, they just generate with 6 coloured sockets.
Yep.
So you still want to get the right colours, but
Yeah, but it's much easier to actually use them now.
what else did you do? Pariah.
Yeah, so we audited all of them. Some of them we were like, this is not a good unique, we should buff it. So Pariah, for example, is one that is now much stronger than it used to be. Yeah, there's subtle changes, but in general, like the design of the uniques didn't really need to change at all, like Triad Grip and the Untouched Soul, those type of things.
I just realized this makes like a favorite thing for me is like early league buying like a corrupted 6 link and finding the right colors for that was sometimes tricky, but now like you can use any, right? Because you can put a blue gem in a green socket, you just don't get the bonus.
Yeah, Skin of the Loyal's early league is going to be far more accessible now.
Yeah, cool. Interesting. So that inadvertently kind of makes 6 links much more available early league, it seems. It's like something maybe you wouldn't even really think about with this, but there you go.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool. Vaals did a thing with sockets, so I imagine that changed, right?
Well, to clarify, when you do get a socket color, so for example, if you're using like a strength base type, you still have, when a socket generates, it's still got a much higher chance to be a red socket compared to a blue or green socket. So
Yeah.
it still rolls socket colors based on the attribute requirements. Now, a Vaal Orb does what it used to do before, where when it's generating socket colors, it can still re-roll socket colors.
Yeah.
I think instead of granting white sockets, now it does the inverse and it grants a colored socket.
Yeah, so I was
but that colored socket will just be a random red, green or blue. It won't care about the attribute requirements of the item.
So a way to get off colors or something, maybe. Interesting. I imagine the crafting bench probably changed. But then again, with chromes being more expensive, maybe it didn't need to.
So a chromatic orb guarantees a colored socket, but we also have crafting bench options which guarantee 2 colored sockets and guarantee 3 colored sockets. But for varying amounts of chromatic orbs. I can't remember the exact
And
numbers.
now that they're going to be much more valuable as well, that makes sense. It almost kind of solves itself there. Well, super interesting. I look forward to seeing how people feel about that after they've had a chance to play around with it. But, my impressions of that have been pretty positive so far. If anything, like, I guess if there's any negative I could probably nitpick about it, it seems that maybe like it removes some of the identity from those items, mostly more in the campaign where you're not seeing their colors come up all that often. So like armor, energy shield thing is not necessarily as distinct from an invasion thing since you can change them around a lot more. Was that something you guys were worried about at all with this?
Not really.
You think they
A
get
little
enough of
bit.
their identity
I
from
understand
their
that it is, especially from the visuals.
Yeah.
But like the item holds itself, you know, and with respect to its defense type, its mods. But yeah, I mean, I get that. Almost everyone, I was just thinking about it now, or I play with sockets always shown. I don't think I've seen anyone in a long time not play with sockets always shown. So I was just thinking that, like, generally when you're looking at an item, in fact, you're not really seeing its item art. You're just seeing some combination of colors. So, yeah, generally you're going to be like, hey, this doesn't look like how it used to look. But I would honestly say that that doesn't need to be part of it. So it shouldn't need to be part of its identity.
Nice.
Even though I get that it will feel that way, for sure.
Well, I know this was the main change for this expansion, but on the side, in your spare time between working on Socket Colors, obviously you made this thing called Curse of the Allflame. This is a pretty unique and I think delightfully goofy mechanic. It's definitely a weird one. At first I thought, it's delve but moist, but then that seems to be oversimplifying it a little bit. Because it's also got a little bit of a blend of other ideas and definitely seems to very much be its own thing. I'm curious, how did this idea for this like Subnautica League come about?
You know what? Strangely, it actually didn't even start from the point of we should go to the ocean floor. What I wanted was a league where, you're exploring in similar sort of to the Wildwood, because I like that mechanic, but like a league mechanic where you're exploring and trying to uncover things as you go. And it was originally going to be, I believe, like Bestiary adjacent, where it was going to be in like the spirit realm where all the Bestiary bosses are and you're like clearing spirit fog. But that was not a thing that we had nearly the assets to be able to pull off nearly as well as like an ocean themed league, because you can, go look at half the monsters in the game that pre-existed and they're on the coast or they're near the shore or they're on an island, and therefore, it's crabs and horrible squid creatures and starfish and all that. And so it just made a lot more sense to go with an ocean themed league. And from there, everything just kind of exploded into being.
Yeah, a lot of that also inspiring. Like, the same mechanic can often be applied to many different themes in different ways, and so a huge part of the win there, he's talking about ocean biome assets, creatures. Well, we had just done Act 4, right? So, and PoE 2, so all of a sudden we have islands and sea creatures and everything there, and it's like, okay, well, we like to reuse stuff and port it back and so we get to use all the modern art. The other thing is the environment artists are familiar with those assets. So when they're trying to put together all these things, they know exactly, and the level designers, they know exactly where everything is. Makes it way easier, and then you don't have to like look through and find 13-year-old assets and stuff trying to go like, okay, how can I reuse this? And then, it's nice to have full art sets of modern art, because when you mix old things that aren't what we call PBR and non-PBR, when you have the old PoE1 assets intermixed with the new modern assets, they stick out like a absolute sore thumb. Going in, obviously, it's when you're picking a theme, it's often good to look, what art do we have? How can we use that or reuse that? Because then you get to make a hell of a lot more content for significantly less cost. So that's kind of what helped inspire it, because we also like, I was like, and he doesn't necessarily know what's being made for PoE 2, and that's like where I'm kind of the bridge, and I'm like,
because you're fully on PoE 1.
Yes.
Yep.
And he's like, well, what monsters? And I'm like, let me give you that. And I was just like, massive list. I'm like, go to this area, go to this area, go to this area, any of these will work. Big starfish and all that stuff. And so
sea otters.
Yeah.
I love otters. So,
the otters definitely caught me by surprise.
We had a task that we hadn't finished called Demon Otter.
Yeah. You didn't even point me at that. I went and found that one.
Yeah.
I felt slightly bad blowing up the otters. They're kind of cute.
Well, you can get one as a pet from the upcoming mystery box.
There you go.
I feel like I'm like, how did you find that? Are you just going into our issue tracker and typing otter every 3 days and like waiting for something to appear? It's like,
I refresh the issue tracker at the start of each day because I'm curious what's being worked on, and I saw otter years ago.
Control F otter.
And it stuck in my head.
He's got a script that just checks for him every day and alerts him, pings in the moment it goes in.
Hundreds of these things getting made per day. It's like kind of to just know to search for that is like really weird. So I don't know. I'm sus.
So, I mean, so you had some assets for it, but also like if you'd done the Wildwood Einhari sort of thing, that sounds cool, but it wouldn't have been quite as unique as this. I think I don't think we haven't had this like exploring the ocean floor thing before.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Is this a real boat league?
I was wondering, because like you go into a boat, but we're not like what makes a boat league? Does it just have to have a boat in it? Because that's a pretty low bar.
You have to be at ocean. Do you have to be
fighting on-
I think some people draw the line at sailing. I think it has to be moving. I think you have to. I think
Fishing?
They would say. Hold on, whoa.
We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, you're rolling.
I think that a true boat league to some people is one that must induce seasickness.
That's,
As in with like
that's your line.
screen wobble and like.
That is not what I thought you would
We
say.
have not done that this week. To be clear.
Thank you for not doing that. I feel like the true boat league has to have combat on a boat. We're gonna have some boarding actions or something, like some boat to boat cannons and
Noted.
blowing up.
Third axis, yeah.
Is it a town area? I guess you can't like spawn specters or anything. And
In the Deepwater hub.
Yeah.
Sorry, Deepwater was the working name. In the Curse of the Allflame hub area on the Sovereign.
You
is
can
the
drop items
ship.
on the floor on the boat.
It
so,
is technically a combat area, so you
Yeah.
could
in theory.
spawn specters there if you wanted to.
Shoot projectiles out to sea.
Yeah.
I guess you can.
I guess.
Sorry, all right, but it was mentioned though, like, does this also count? The same question could be asked of fishing. Does this count as fishing if you're on the ocean floor killing fish? Does that count as fishing? And does this tread on the toes of the existing fishing mechanics, obviously, as well? You would have had to have considered that. Did you confer with the fishing team when you were?
I think that going down and killing fish is not fishing. I think that's.
but what if you're holding a spear though? Oh, but we don't have spears, so it doesn't matter.
Perfect. Problem solved. So you're basically saying like dynamite fishing doesn't count as fishing then, for sure. It's 100% cheating.
It is important for us to clear up this because, like, we need to always be just almost delivering boat leagues, but not quite delivering boat leagues. So I just wanted to make sure we succeeded in our goals here.
There's this like grand plot of stringing along the PoE community for as long as possible for a boat league. Is like,
That's true. When I pitched the retheme, Mark was very cautious. You know,
like, oh, we don't want to give him too much. We got to keep him coming back for the next potential boat league. I see what's going on here.
Yeah, it's like there's this tick box of league must have boat, and then indented boat must not move. You know.
Okay.
No. All right. Anyway.
Anyway, so this is a pretty big change from Mirage, which was in map and heavily intersected with like all of the existing mechanics. This is a complete opposite. This is a mostly out of map mechanic, and it's not required for you to understand how it intersects with other mechanics. Is it? I imagine there's like a good reason to kind of like alternate between the two almost as well.
yeah. So one of the benefits of Curse of the Allflame is that it's a very straightforward theme to understand. It's something that, you don't really need to have a lot of grounding in the all of the minutia of Path of Exile to be able to understand, go to ocean floor and find treasure in a submersible. That's just a cool concept, whether you are, a PoE veteran or not. And it's also just kind of me liking to jump between things and work on very different concepts. Like, I can't say any specifics, but we already do have a very rough plan for what 3.30 will be, and it's going to go in a completely different direction as well. So, I don't know. I just have a lot of ideas that go all over the place, and I
Good.
Good.
we like to alternate these things, right?
Yeah.
Like often out of league, out of map. Leagues are, they have room to be a bit more immersive. There's a whole world there.
Yeah.
Integrating things into map constrains what they can be, right?
Yeah.
Like having a pocket of ocean in a desert gets a bit weird, so certain things can work, certain things can't. I mean, in the same sense that kind of having a desert as Mirage in an oceany biome can feel more like a forest biome can feel a bit weird, it allows you to create a more immersive world, submersive world.
I see what you did.
Immersive. I don't know. I'm silly.
There are some lessons that have been taken from previous out of league mechanics, where obviously the biggest one is that the Atlas tree is this method of investment that can lead to in Atlas content being able to be juiced to the gills, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we need a system that's at least in, what's the word I'm looking for here, in analog to that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the voyage system, which we can get into in specifics a little bit later. But it's got multiple axes through which you can juice the content that you're doing to get, some quite rewarding voyages. And it's kind of meant to be the one-to-one allegory to that. Analog.
Yes. Yeah. That was going to be one of my follow-up questions. Is because you have so many axes to juice things in maps. How do you make sure that something like this has like a nice long tail to it? That is something you can get as invested in. So this has like some nice ways for you to be able to juice it.
And I mean, one of the other things is we have much more gradation in the level scaling. This is maybe getting too into the weeds, but like the mods that can roll on charts.
Yeah.
There's a whole tier of the highest tier of rewarding mods that can only show up on I-83, I-84 charts.
Oh, okay, cool.
So if you are at the end game, then you get access to like even more rewarding, both charting and voyaging. And then there's some border mods that can only roll at the super high levels as well. And then, those border mods can amplify with the chart mods, can amplify with the adjacency mods, can amplify with the chart locations, which I'm getting too into the weeds now because we haven't really discussed any of that. But I like, I'm a PoE 1 player at heart. I like lots of axes that all intersect and overlap and turn into a crazy encounter.
Yep. And when you make something like this that is out of maps, there is like, I feel like you guys expect and fully kind of know ahead of time that, this is going to be more divisive than something that is in maps typically, right? Like this is something that is for the players that are going to love it, is kind of the way that I view it. It's like some people are going to be like, oh, this is my life now, like the people who just delve every league. So I imagine then, how does that kind of like shape the design of this? Like, I imagine you're like able to take more risks or something with it, be a bit more crazy with it to try and suit that?
I wouldn't say necessarily. Honestly, the way it generally comes apart is we're just like, that sounds like a cool idea, let's go with it. We don't really even think about the like overall risk and reward. Like we just imagine a lot of like, we would enjoy it. We imagine a lot of people would enjoy it. And yes, we definitely understand it's going to be more divisive. And that's why we make sure we alternate these types of leagues, or at least we thoroughly try to. And as said, 330 will be an in-area mechanic in map.
One of the other things that I'm definitely making sure is the case in 330 is there will not be a loading screen to do the league mechanic. I like Mirage, I like Allflame, but they have both now, to go to the hub area for Allflame, you need a loading screen because obviously it's out of map. And then Mirage needed one too, which was unfortunate.
To be clear, charts are fully tradable.
Yep.
You don't have to run them, you just stockpile them. Right, and then go, like you can do days of mapping and then go do days of charting. The crafting system's kind of crazy, powerful.
But we won't be nerfing it.
A way that it can be thought about as you get in Hinakora's locks.
Yes.
Why do you have to put it like that? You make me nervous.
Because that's what it is. So there is a very, very strong motivation to do it. And hopefully people were like, hell yeah, feels good doing it because of that. But we like to, even when we do out of area, in this case, it's not like you find it, you have to do it. You can find it, you run it later at your leisure, right? So you don't have to break your mapping flow all the time. Get the chart, move on, map, and then maybe start the next day with, let me go do a bunch of charts, do a bunch of voyages, right? Like, that's fully at your leisure. You can... that's generally how people play, and it's generally how I play. At Alpha, we're seeing the same thing. It's like, just, you have those people who might want to chart as they find them. You might have people who are like, okay, get to end of Act 1, do a bunch, just talking about a campaign. And having the freedom to be able to do all of that is pretty critical for the out-of-area leagues, I'd say.
Yeah, it seems like it's very free for you to determine your flow about how you engage with this. And for the map blasters then, who maybe like, I don't really want to go do the charting and stuff too much, it has something for you in maps as well. Like, I think that's easy to miss.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the bulk of the mechanic is the undersea exploration, but there are 3 different encounters you can find in maps that are what grant the charts. And importantly, I wanted each of them to feel like they were, worth engaging with, even if you didn't want the chart. So there's the Cursed Treasure Chest, which we showed in the live stream, that possesses you with a random tormented spirit when you complete it.
That's a fun one. I like that.
For the rest of the instance. There's a Brine Rot Pirate one, and when you complete that, you get a buff that gives you a chance for any gold you find for the rest of the instance to be duplicated when it drops. And there's the Crab Nest, and when you defeat the Crab Nest, whenever you kill rare and unique monsters for the rest of the instance, you spawn crabs,
You spawn crabs.
which may not sound useful, but it's very good in Beyond maps.
It's a bunch of extra crabs popping out as you do it. And I mean, more monsters popping out of monsters is definitely some people's jam for sure.
Crabs.
Crabs.
Yeah,
Lots
right.
of crabs.
Oh man, there's a crab themed unique that we're going to show hosts in a teaser that I'm really excited for people to see. I'm sorry, I'm just baiting people by bringing that up. It'll be soon.
What's this thing? I got to make sure to equip the crab armor set when we play this.
Oh yeah,
That's
for sure. It's got to be done. Yeah, I saw some pretty cool looking uniques there, but we can leave those for your teasers and stuff
Sure.
because there's some pretty. You're definitely pushing what uniques can be in Path of Exile 1, I think, a bit, which is exciting to see. But you mentioned this like the crafting system. How does the reward structure for this mechanic works outside of maps in the actual charting and voyaging? Do certain charts have like certain reward types? Are you able to target farm specific things?
So again, this is another point where I wanted to make sure there were multiple axes. So there's the Dead Man's Sulfur, which is the coral green glowing stuff that's in every single chart and voyage that you do.
Yep.
And that's the fuel for powering the new crafting system. And that is fully tradable. So that's like the baseline. This mechanic just rewards this all the time. And then there are special charts that you can find that lead to special things on the ocean floor that can give, any number of, arbitrary rewards, whatever we decide. So there's one that just has tons of chests of currency, which I'm sure people will like. There's one that spawns, as you saw in the live stream, a new kind of mercenary that you can only get from that room. There's one that leads to the new boss of the league. There's probably a bunch that I'm forgetting. There's a dozen to 2 dozen of those at least, and we do have some that might not make it into the patch, and we would put in a week later if they don't. So there might even be more coming soon after launch. And then the third thing is there's what we call a scattered object system in the league, and this is why I'm personally really excited to play, because it scatters a bunch of predetermined random rewards, like chests of currency or a chest with a unique, or the message in a bottle that we showed on the stream that you open and it just gives you some random valuable unique, or potentially I think a reflecting mist is what we showed. Essences, strong boxes, golden lanterns that give you permanent rarity for the rest of the instance, tons of stuff. We tried to get dozens of outcomes in there, and those are just scattered on the ocean floor, and they give you the feeling of exploring to try and find stuff. You're not going completely blind though. Every lantern that you place has a little indicator on it, and that indicator will point towards the nearest scattered object, nearest reward you might want. So you know where to go to place the next lantern to find a treasure chest or whatever it might be.
Yep. Yeah.
Something different to say the Wildwood, where you just go, I'm going that way.
Yeah.
This one at least gives you a guidance to go, I'm going to find something if I go over here.
Yeah. Now you don't know what the something is necessarily. It could be an essence monster or a strong box or a chest with a unique in it, but it will be something that you would want. It doesn't. Technically, there are also mines on the seafloor that explode when you step on them. They're not very frequent. The lanterns don't point at those.
Okay. You're not getting fully
I
baited.
thought
by
that's
those.
what you're getting. I was like, they better not point at those.
Yeah, you're implying there's some sort of reward to get.
No.
Yes, some sort of reward, sweet release.
As again, the comparison to Wildwood there is that it ensures a minimum. You're getting something out of it. As long as you follow it, as opposed to like place a bunch of lanterns, you're like, I just RNG'd and got nothing.
I mean, for me, it's the most addicting part of the league. Like, I love going in and, you can do a chart in like a minute, maybe 2, depending on how fast your build is.
They're really fast.
They're quite quick.
Yeah.
And so you go in, you find 2-3 chests, and then you rush back out, and you do it again, and then suddenly an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours has gone by.
Yeah, and I very much noted and appreciated that you did the week 1 quality of life patch before release with the auto placing of lanterns if you want. So you can manually place them, or you can just run into the water and it
That was done months ago. That was done well before release.
We're trying to do that though every league. Like always think, okay, what are people going to ask for on day 1, day 2, day 3, or week 1? What do they need? And like, let's get ahead of it and do it now. We don't catch everything, but
Yeah, you can't do an
Get
extent,
a
can
lot,
you? Yes, but you're definitely getting better at that, though. Has it been a bit tricky to kind of get the feel of this right? Like, so you've got this thing where you're like pushing these lanterns out, and then you've got the bubble collapsing thing for the extraction as well. Like, it seems like a challenging thing to kind of get the feel for that right.
Yeah, I mean, it's had a lot of iteration. The collapsing part, I do want to specify because, it's something that comes up a lot in conversations I've had with journalists and people at the office and all that. The lanterns will never start just randomly collapsing on you. Like
Yes.
you know when they are going to begin to collapse because they only begin to collapse after you place your last lantern.
Yeah, it's not like flares and delve.
Yeah,
Like
so
that's a
you
big
have
distinction.
you have infinite time to explore the areas that you've placed lanterns in
Yeah.
until you place your last one, and then you have to get back to the bathysphere.
Yeah, and it's not really like a rush clear speedy mechanic ultimately. Like you can,
No, I mean,
you can
you
do
can
it
go
fast.
fast.
You can go fast, but it's not like
Like I said, people on alpha generally are doing a chart in like a minute
Yeah.
or less.
but
Pretty forgiving.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
which it kind of has to be, right? Like, if it is, if it's overwhelming for any of us, we've probably got the balance wrong because someone's going to come into the game and just be like, I don't know what to do. Like, it is a thing where, rewatching the live stream, I'm like, oh yeah, I could see people being worried about just drowning all the time,
No.
and yeah,
Drowning is not meant to be a significant part of the mechanic. If you're dying in the Allflame encounters, I would hope that you're dying to the monsters
yeah,
and not to drowning. And that is generally the case whenever, I've died when playtesting and also when I've seen, players playing on alpha and stuff. Drowning is really, it really only ever happens if you are being like playing real dangerous and like, trying to go out far into the water to try and get a chest or something, which is part of why we have those lanterns pointing at things so you know where to place the lantern to get the chest in order so you don't have to be trying to do like rippy dangerous stuff by going out into the water a whole ton.
you'd have to have a serious panic, which to drown is what my perception. Like when I'm like, how would someone drown to this? But it will happen, I'm sure. But I think you'd have to be having a little miniature crisis in order to have that happen, I'd say.
I feel like you'll do it once and then you'll learn from it. But if you're a hardcore player,
Yeah,
I guess
I
you'll
only
lose
drowned.
one character and then
I only drowned once, and I was like, that was a bit silly. I won't do that again. That seems like something to learn from. There seems like there could be a bit of a risk of backtracking with this. Like people don't really, enjoy long backtracking. But I noticed with the charts, you can kind of a lot of the time you're placing your things in a circle, so you're not really backtracking so much. You end up where you started anyway. But with the voyages, there might be some backtracking or maybe not, depending.
So I feel I don't want to sound like I'm overemphasizing this too much, but the charts are quite small.
Yes.
Like by the time you've placed you get 7 lanterns once you upgrade your lantern count. By the time you've placed all 7 lanterns, you are maybe a couple screens away from where you started, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit further than that if you go out in a full straight line. So the charts are meant to be like really bite-sized encounters. So like there is technically a small amount of backtracking there, but that is with monsters spawning as you're going back, and it's a couple screens worth.
There's a big difference between combatless backtracking and just
Yeah, you're fighting monsters as the bubbles are collapsing around you. It's like
Yes.
it's an actual kind of
Yeah.
exciting gameplay thing, and it's not even necessarily always the case. I noticed because in the voyage sometimes you're extracting basically where you are as you're leaving.
Yeah, so the voyages, they're built out of 9 different charts that you kind of stitch together, and each of them at their center has a place where you can leave. So you don't have to backtrack to where you started in a voyage. That would be insane and terrible. You get to leave at each of these individual chart locations, and like I said, the charts are relatively bite-sized, so that means you're never really more than, say, a screen and a half distance away from a place where you could leave when you want to go.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. So this Allflame crafting, how did you arrive at giving players like 4 Hinakora locks per craft as your crafting system for this league?
Well, actually, originally it was going to be similar. I want to say similar to Harvest. I don't want players to interpret that as like, similar in power level. It may or may not be. But I mean similar mechanically, as in list of specific bespoke crafts that you can do for list of specific costs of that craft.
Yep.
But the problem with that is it was just too similar to things we've done in the past.
Yeah.
It is essentially Harvest, but wet. And that's not, we had actually gotten relatively far along in the development of that. And I was just like, this is lame. We shouldn't do the same thing again.
Yeah.
And so, the idea for the Allflame crafting splitting into different forms came from the fact that originally we were using the terms Allflame and Ghostflame kind of interchangeably in development. And ghost stuff gave me the idea of what if you split into multiple ghostly versions of the item, and what would that mean?
Okay, all right.
So it kind of came theme first, mechanic second.
It's thematically real cool. Yeah, I remember when you came to me and you're like, yeah, this crafting system sucks. We need a new one. And then you had a pitch and I was like, this is a good thing. Like, some people get very caught up in their original designs and just try and see it through no matter what. And you just get, you go down into a vortex.
You're in too deep.
And
yeah.
you're like, oh, loss aversion kicks in. And like, to be able to, as a designer, to be able to just be like, nah, gone. Starting again, even if you're like 3/4 into the cycle, if that's what's best, that's what's best. And most people fail at being able to do this. So it's like,
nice.
When you came to me for that, I was like, wow, okay, this is cool. I'm happy.
I did feel bad telling our lead programmer for the league, Jeremy, that, your work, we're actually going to be changing it. Though a good amount of the infrastructure was able to be kept, because it is still UI-wise very similar, where you like put in item, click craft to go. It just, changed to now you also put in a currency with the item that you want to use it on or use on it.
So the main part of it is this splitting so that you can use an exalt or something and then see 3 or 4 different potentials for that. And then choose your best one, and that's obviously very powerful, especially for some of the bigger graphs. The intangibility system is kind of the counterpoint to that, like some sort of limitation on that. How does that work exactly?
Yeah, so not every single crafting step, but many of the crafting steps you can do, for example, in Exalt, will add some amount of what we call intangibility to an item. And it's just a value that will be shown on the item and ticks up. And the intangibility in the item is equal to a chance when you do another Allflame craft on that item for it to only have one result, which effectively means you just did the craft with no extra bonus. So basically, what it boils down to is the more you Allflame craft on one specific base, one specific item, the more and more and more difficult it becomes to continue to Allflame craft on that item. And there are some ways around this that clever people in QA and Alpha have found that, things like recombination, because if you take the mod you're trying to chase on the base that has high intangibility and you put it onto a new base that doesn't have that intangibility, now you can keep going, but there's some risk in that at least. And then, Awakener's Orbs do a similar thing where it's, creating an entirely new base as the output. And there's also a Ducat, which is the new currencies that we've added that interact only with Allflame crafting, that has a 50% chance to remove all your intangibility and a 50% chance to destroy your item.
Gotta have it.
Gambling is fun.
Yep. I guess on that note, the gambling side of things, it seems like the Vaal Orb won't work with this.
No, it does not.
What's the reason for that?
It's both a case of balance, because it's one of the ones that would be most insanely strong. We've tried to limit it as little as possible. I would say 95%, maybe even 98%. I don't have the exact numbers. Something like that. High 90s% of currencies work with this. But also for me, I understand this is very subjective. Some people may disagree with this take. For me, it's a theme thing as well. Like, I really don't like this super special Vaal magic just kind of working with weird ghost magic that doesn't hew together well in my mind. But that is very much me alone who is holding that subjective take.
Even just taking that whole random unpredictability and turning it into, like, for normal mod, like Exalting, for example, sure, there's going to be some good outcomes. But for the fact that you can take that whole risk out of the Vaal Orb, or like most of it, it's honestly just a bit demeaning. Like, I'll tell you, you would never use a Vaal Orb.
Oh, for sure.
Aside from this way.
Yes.
With this being the case. So that in itself is kind of bad. Now, however, I was like, if we had time, which we didn't, I was like, have it do something else. You put it in here and the two magics collide and who knows what happens.
You cross the beams.
The Vaal Orb just says it modifies unpredictably, so, you won't be lying if it did something unpredictable in some other different way, but that was, hopes too high kind of situation. It was too difficult.
One other, I know this isn't pertaining to a specific question you asked, but one other thing I want to make sure is getting across, because it was too in the weeds to go into in the live stream, is it is performing that craft on the original item X number of times, which means the outputs are independent of one another. So if I have an amulet that I'm trying to annul, for instance, I could have each output, it's unlikely, but each output could annul the same mod. Like the outputs do not care about one another.
Right,
So
yeah.
in theory, with an exalt, you could exalt the same mod on all the outputs. That's stupid unlikely, but it could happen.
So if that happens, don't add us. It's not broken.
That is how it is meant to work. It is doing the crafting step of the currency item on the original item X number of
It
times.
doesn't mod block itself
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. What's so the main part of it is this like splitting into separate things, but there is some unique stuff to it as well that can occur to items like.
Well, that's mostly the ducats,
Yeah.
which you can kind of just think about each of them as a new bespoke individual currency.
Okay.
So there's the one
Just
that
works
like
with this.
yeah, there's the one that's like you take an item with an attribute roll and turn it into another attribute roll. You know, strength becomes int or whatever. So those are basically, we had a bunch of ideas for the original Harvest-esque version of the system, and some of them had been implemented and some of them were just cool ideas, and it's like, where can we keep that? Okay, we just make new currencies that drop from the League mechanic that work
Nice.
with Allflame crafting.
Nice, there you go. Transported them over.
Yeah.
There's a question from chat about reflecting mist with the new crafting system. I imagine that'd be like Vaal Orb and that it wouldn't work, but
Anything, that's actually one of the few limitations. Anything that outputs more than one output does not work with Allflame crafting because it simply can't.
because it would
Yeah,
do, you did
there's
like,
nowhere to put them.
you'd need like a bunch of 2 items things.
You'd have inventories all over your screen.
You put a mirror of Kalandra in, and then you only get 1 item back. So
Okay.
Technically, this is not something that anyone should do, but technically a scouring orb works
Why? Why?
if you want.
If you want, I guess. So I'm going to do that.
Sure.
Why not?
Spend some sulfur for just throw away sulfur because you're
Yep.
rich.
That
Just
base
burning
type,
money.
that's exactly the same as that base type. Look, no, this one looks better than those ones.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to take number 3. Maybe. If anyone knows you want, as long as it's scoured. A side note, thanks for the attribute swap mechanic as well. Like I saw the
Sure.
Ducat for that swaps attributes. One of my favorites is the resistance swap. But just like fantastic addition for like gear puzzle solving and for making it easy to like swap your gear with stuff you find as well. Like there's a lot less gear lock in with the resistance swap, and I think attributes will help that too. I kind of wonder if there's like other things like this that might exist. I can't think of any, but
Isn't there in PoE2 something that allows you, maybe I'm wrong and this didn't make it in, which in that case, I'm sorry. But something that allows you to swap like cold damage on a weapon to being fire damage?
Yeah.
yeah, there
So
is.
that would be the one other case. That's not quite the same though, because that is more
Yeah.
changing the identity of a build than it is
Yeah.
just solving a problem in a build.
Yeah, I kind of view the attributes and resistance as that problem solving sort of thing for sure.
no, the attribute one is actually slightly more interesting because what it
Yeah.
allows you is if you have a strength body type, then you can swap it to dexterity or intelligence, which is like technically something you can't actually do.
See, I would have
the
expected
moment?
it to obey the rules still, where it like
Oh, no.
can't do that, but you can actually just swap them to any.
Nah, it's the
Like-
Allflame.
It's like old
Yeah,
recombinators.
the Allflame doesn't care about
No
the rules.
rules. Aside from
Except the rules that it has.
Except for Vaal Orbs and yeah.
I guess the one caveat is that it doesn't work with hybrid attribute rolls. So it won't do anything with all attributes because there's nothing to swap it to, and it won't do anything with things like that give plus 10 strength and dexterity. It only
Yeah.
works with,
Yeah.
giving one attribute, turning into giving one of a different type.
Yeah. So let's change topics a little bit here to Mirage, which was announced to not be going core in 3.2.9. But is it something that you'd like to go core in the future? I don't know if you already announced anything about that.
Short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you seemed pretty keen when I was talking to you about
We
it. before.
almost always let a league simmer. There's a few reasons for that. We like to have our, this is a more production internal thing, but we like to have our live realm be as close as possible to our internal realm,
Yep.
right? And so if we've, let's say we're having to make fixes to the live realm, we have to be open to be able to make fixes to the live realm. So if all of a sudden we've redone the code base to not be a league and instead it's now core, we've made all these changes and everything, the capacity for us to then fix things on live becomes significantly harder.
So, yeah.
So that's like the production. So that doesn't matter in the latter 2 months of a cycle, but in the first 2 months, it would be like, we don't really want to do that. Otherwise, we don't have the capacity to respond to things going wrong on live. It's safe to say after 2 months, not as much goes wrong. But then you've only got 2 months to now do all the changes on top of the fact we've got this to prepare. We've got all the other content coming in. So like adding that in itself just causes some problems for us where we're like, oh, now we have to, how can we figure out how we can make these changes and get them on live without what we are committing to internally be even close to what's on live. And so that's a more like, it's something maybe the players don't really often think about because it's really a problem exclusive to us internally. But yeah, like the league worked. I think the other problem you were mentioning as well, I heard you bring up, was like the fact that it's multiplicative with everything and affects every league. It's like, are we going to sign ourselves up for the maintenance here? You know, similar, like Reliquarian, but more.
I guess I do want that maintenance. I want Mirage in the game.
Nice.
But I want to do it in a way, I want to make sure that we have assessed it so that it's done in the way that is the least hampering to future development of leagues. Because if every league going forward that appears in maps needs to interact with Mirage, which it will need to, because it'll feel lame if it doesn't, then we need to make 100% sure that however we're implementing Mirage now doesn't, continue to pester us and bite us in the ass for the next, 15 leagues that we make. So I think it's very important that we, carefully take the time with its implementation.
There's even the question of should the active league get manipulated by Mirage, or will that make Mirage feel 100% mandatory because the active leagues in every area, and so you're kind of like, it's getting into that realm of like when we had passives for the active league on the tree and they felt mandatory because it was always there, and it's like, got to be careful with that. So probably not, unless you can do it in a way that's flavorful and not necessarily rewarding. But it will come. There's some decisions we need to make and time to do it, of course. That's always the main constraint, time.
There is another question of if Mirage is even like an investable mechanic on your Atlas tree. Like we could implement it similar to like the Asmeri Forest, where it's just something that randomly appears in your maps and then...
It almost sounds like that might be a better idea for this one, because like it's really good news that it's going core. People seem to really like Mirage quite a lot. But it is one of those things that it seems like it has a danger of becoming like, there's an issue in PvP at the moment with like cities feel like they're mandatory. Like you have to have, like if you're going to do your juiced content, you've got to do it in this thing because it's just so much stronger. So I could see the same thing being with Mirage. It's like, oh, you're crazy to not do that. And then it becomes another tier 17 kind of issue where it's like, oh, you need to do your juiced in that, or you're just wasting it.
Yeah, I feel like the Asmeri Forest sort of avoids that problem because you don't know about it. And if you're investing lots of like very expensive scarabs into it, then it's not like you're going to just keep fishing maps until you find it.
Yeah, hopefully. And it's just it's just a super exciting win when it does happen. It's not something you can plan around necessarily. So I imagine that's probably the route.
I suspect most people really just want to know when they're getting their shrine belt back.
Yes, and that was my follow-up questions is like, with that not going core just yet, but maybe in the future, in the meantime, there's a few things that people are pretty excited about. We'll start with Screams of Desiccated then, like the...
So the uniques will not be going core just yet. There are a few other bits and pieces from Mirage that will be going to core, though. Just earlier this week, I added Atlas passive support to Heist for the blueprints that have the special implicits that guarantee certain rewards at the end of blueprint wings. I think Andrew did some stuff as well.
Yeah, so in sort of where like volatile Vaals are super cool. Yes. I wouldn't want to just...
Yeah.
I think what we'll do is we've currently moved them to Sanctum, so it's a way of making Sanctum more rewarding.
A bit more unique as well.
And I feel like if Mirage goes core, we will probably keep Volatile Vaals as a Sanctum exclusive reward.
Right, yeah.
The other one that we moved was the Crystallized Rancor. That was the one that enabled all the new, like, the minion harvest craft that comes from a new Atlas anomaly. I think it was in the live stream, there's like the big harvest is returned, so when you get a boss in one of those, they always drop the Crystallized Rancor.
Nice, cool. And this is letting you kind of make these things a little bit more distinct as well, which has always been a goal, to give each thing their own rewards.
We are doing more and more and more of that, and people, you can see that with like Legion and stuff like that. So, by the way, and we have a goal there, which is ultimately two things, one of which is certainly more ambitious. But the idea would be that every single league that you can invest into, as opposed to ones that exclusively randomly spawn necessarily. Every single league you invest into has exclusive rewards.
Yep.
That is goal one. Goal two is every single league you can invest into on the Atlas in particular has a pinnacle boss. And that's the way more ambitious. We will see if so going there with Abyss now as an example, and the idea that eventually we will add more and more and more and more of them. That one, of course, is significantly more difficult to achieve. So I would expect more leagues to get exclusive rewards, and I would expect less leagues to get bosses in the short term, but eventually that would be the ideal goal.
Awesome.
Some already have them. Some, and by the way, I wouldn't consider Bestiary's 4 spirit beasts a pinnacle boss. Like, they're just some animals that are ghosts. Like, it's not, because it's too dated, it's too old.
I mean, there's even some more recent leagues that don't quite live up to that. I would love to explore what a Mercenaries of Charthus pinnacle boss means.
Ooh,
No promises anytime soon, but just personally, I would love to see what that even is.
Yeah, of course. I've got ideas.
I'm looking forward to seeing what those are. Refracting Fog is getting asked about for Mirage as well. Is that something that's going core in some way?
Unless you did something along those lines, Andrew, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of the other Mirage exclusive currency is cooling off for a league. So the Refracting Frog and all the Coins of Power, those type of things.
There's a waiting until kind of Mirage goes core.
Yep. And we'll reevaluate then if we want to keep them in Mirage, keep them in the game, or move them somewhere else.
I know we had a bit of a track record of saying things will go core, and then they, we got now we've got Mirage on the list, we've got Harbinger on the list. Then the others that are we had Mercenaries on the list.
Toda, maybe.
Toda
I
was
don't know.
one.
Sort of. But the idea is, we were like, okay, we're getting too many things that we're saying we will eventually do. Let's actually try and do some of them. And then we're like, okay, Mercenaries is the one, so that at least we're getting that done. I want people to be reassured that we're not just building up an eternal list of stuff we're never bringing back. I will at least say we are actively working on Harbinger, right? I don't want people to think that's ignored. So just before everyone, I don't know why that would come up again, but just saying, these things are coming. We're not just doing a soon TM situation.
You touched on Abyss as well, and so that's getting a pretty major rework with some nice gameplay updates there. But something that you touched on was that rewards are PoE1 structure, though. Like, they're not being copied over from PoE2.
Yes and no. So Abyssal sockets, Stygian vises, Abyssal jewels, those all still exist and exclusively come from Abyss.
Great.
However, the chests that spawn at the, rise up out of the ground when Abyss is complete, those are more varied now. So it's no longer just like, here's a rare chest that drops stuff. It's a currency chest or a scarab chest or a, weapon chest or an armor chest or a jewelry chest. Like, it's more defined each time. So you get, and that's just better, to be honest. Like, having the more defined rewards gives you those moments of, oh, I got a scarab chest. And even when it isn't the case, maybe when you're leveling, you might Act 6 or something, be excited to see a weapon chest when your weapon is kind of crappy.
And did I hear there's like a bunch of new uniques with this as well?
There are 6 and a 7th that people can find.
Some secrets.
I think
So wait, the 6 can't be found?
No, a 7th that people can uncover how to get. Let's put it that way.
And just to be clear, I realize this is a little bit confusing in hindsight. There is a new pinnacle boss. There are still the liches.
Yep.
They are still there. And they still have their drops, so it is entirely new pinnacle means new uniques, and a mysterious one.
And the Delve, this is maybe a little
Secret one, eh?
hyper specific, but the Delve Abyssal City still has the old Abyss monsters if you're feeling nostalgic.
Oh, okay. Nice. Guess you missed those. I did feel that about Breach a little bit at one point there, so that's nice to hear. People are a bit worried about things like invulnerable snakes and weird smoke cloud mechanics coming over as well with this change. That's kind of that's the potential downside of what is like otherwise a very exciting thing. Is that going to be the case here?
I arguably spent too much time, not arguably, definitively spent too much time on the Abyssal monsters as we ported them back, giving most of them new skills.
Yep.
Entirely. Like,
okay, yeah.
I just really like making monster skills, and I was like, hey, I can do this quick because it's done in paying this out in 2-3 weeks. It was not 2-3 weeks.
You came to me one day and you're like, I've made a mistake. I've spent too long on the Abyss monsters. I'm like, okay, wrap it up, stop, move on. Right? Like, what can we do?
But they do have new skills. There's no breakdancing invulnerable snake woman, which is a sentence that I get to say as part of my job. And now you get to learn what the new skills are that the Abyssal monsters will have for you in PoE1.
That's excellent news, and that's making the games more distinct while like taking some of the good stuff from PoE2, but keeping PoE1 its own thing. That's really cool.
That was kind of the original impetus. That, and I do personally like working on monster skills, but I personally very strongly feel that when we're taking from PoE2, which is a thing we should definitely do. If we don't, then we're not going to have the resources to deliver big enough, cool enough leagues. We should do as much as we can to make it feel distinct in PoE1.
So you might see a monster that looks familiar, but it's going to do all different things.
Oh, yeah.
It's exciting.
Reuse the art, adjust the game design is generally the philosophy there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? That makes perfect sense. Absolutely. So another I was kind of surprised at just how much stuff was going on in this, because you also have a Legion kind of set of improvements as well, with a whole new reward system for that, which is exploring something that you've been doing a bit of lately, which is being able to modify uniques, which is always kind of exciting and interesting. So what unique modifiers can be ported over to a new item with this new Legion unique crafting system?
Drew's territory.
Well, to clarify first, there's 5 different crystals that can drop. Each of them is associated with one of the Legion factions.
Okay.
So, for example, the Marraketh faction drops one that allows you to enshroud your unique body armor items.
Okay.
So it's only armors. You can't do it on jewelry, you can't do it on weapons. So you have shields and gloves and helmets and boots as well.
Yeah.
But you can enshroud any unique armor in the game that isn't corrupted, I don't think. So you can take boss uniques, like...
You can't create boss uniques.
No, you can't create boss uniques.
Yeah, that
You
would
can
be...
go from
consume
boss
boss
unique.
Yeah, you
You
wouldn't
can
want that.
take a mod from a boss unique, and it's effectively like you applied an ancient orb to the item. So
Yeah.
it will randomly transform into a new core droppable unique, like a lightning coil or something.
That's so cool.
And the implicit will be the boss unique.
That's so cool.
Or one of the mods, yeah.
And that is an implicit, so it competes with Vaal orbing.
Yeah.
This is an alternative to Vaal orbing.
Yeah.
Unique.
I might be jumping ahead here, but I will say... Well, I'll say at the moment we've done a big pass on Vaal implicits. So Vaal implicits also are much stronger than before.
We will explore that a little bit in crafting
So-
for sure.
It's not entirely super duper power creep, but you'll definitely there'll be some combinations of these unique items that you'll be really looking for.
Cool. Don't worry. We'll touch on that in a bit.
The balance of the vestigial uniques, the balance is not. It's not like 1-to-1, right? It's
Where we can keep it 1-to-1.
Oh yeah, of course.
We try to keep it 1-to-1, but for example, something like Comb's Heart, we aren't sending 1,000 life across to the new item. I think
No
it's like
1,000 life lightning coils.
I think
That's
it's
a lot,
like
though.
it's
Yes.
like 250, I think.
250 life lightning coils, pretty good. That's
good.
kind of juicy.
I mean, I'm excited for Facebreaker with Doriani's touch.
Right.
That's my build.
Yeah.
Decided right there.
So it seems like this is only taking the definitive mod off the unique, not just like
it's
some random.
Usually
thing that's
a
lame.
single specific mod. So if an item has like 5 different mods, there's only one specific one that it will port over.
So you'll kind of know. a lot
Yeah,
of
there's
the
a
time.
few cases like Shaper's Touch and 3 Dragons where they've got like a cycle of 3 mods
Right. Yeah.
where it will randomly pick one of the 3, but generally it's just one specific mod.
Yeah, that's fun. So the flavor, the main thing, the thing that you care about typically is going to be the thing that comes over there. That is very exciting. I quite like this unique crafting stuff. It's
cool.
good to see you exploring that.
I guess it's somewhat similar to Elder's Legacy, right? Like a little bit.
The funny thing is, I think we designed these independently because we figured this out pretty early on in League development. So this would have been like 4 months ago or so that we figured out this is what we're doing for Legion vestigial items. And then I was talking to David, who's one of the PoE2 designers, and he's like, oh yeah, we have this really cool thing where you can put a rune that takes a unique mod and puts it on another unit. It's like, what?
You stole our idea.
PoE1. But it does feel very different, to be fair.
Yeah, so I feel like this same concept is like all of a sudden being explored from a bunch of different angles by different people, which is kind of cool because you're going to arrive at a bunch of cool ideas that, eventually you can.
It's the actual literal case of the great minds. Well, just minds think alike. I wouldn't say we're great. We're just we're just minds.
Come on. So that is like a pretty exciting new thing that you can do with Legion. But with incubators being removed, which is kind of like a lot of the baseline reward for Legion, doing Legions in maps, do you feel like the raw reward value of Legion will still be there? Is that being kind of compensated in some area?
Yeah, well, personally, last league I actually ran a lot of Legions, so I knew like the pain points especially.
Yeah.
And I was flooded with so many incubators. I literally had to filter out like 95% of incubators.
Yeah.
Very few of them I felt like actually gave much like value, and I just was annoyed that every few maps I needed to apply 10 currency incubators.
Yeah, I think this is a good change.
So I don't
for
think
sure.
you're losing too much. You still have all the other reward icons. Like, another thing to note is, I think it was mentioned, is like, Abyss Jewels are now exclusive to Abyss.
Yeah.
Talismans are now exclusive to Talisman.
Yeah.
So Legion has a smaller pool.
Bestiary.
A smaller pool of rewards means you are seeing things like currency rewards, scarab rewards, unique rewards more commonly because
Yeah, they're
we've
not-
removed those other rewards.
Right, they're
from
not
the
being
pool.
replaced.
Yep.
Like, instead of a random incubator that you're filtering out, it's going to be a currency box or something instead. So, okay, that makes sense.
It's a nice side benefit of this whole, ongoing effort to get each league mechanic to give its own special thing exclusively.
Yeah.
Because it kind
Good.
of incidentally buffs the rewards of other league mechanics too, Like, were you ever really excited to see an Abyssal Jewel from Tujin when you rerolled his shop? You won't see those anymore. And now you might be excited to find a high level Abyssal Jewel from Abyss because the market isn't flooded by a 1,000 people clicking reroll on Tujin every day.
Yeah, this is absolutely the right move. It gives people their niches, their little thing to be proud of. Like, I'm supplying the Abyss Jewels to the market.
When it comes to like conceptualizing this, I know like Andrew came in, he's like, I got these pain points. I want to improve some leagues. And I think the thing we're trying to do here, and I hope, it's something players prefer, instead of going fix a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there across all the leagues, I'm like, nah, let's just go all in on a league, do the exclusivity, give it an identity, be it a pinnacle boss or a reward system, upgrade it to uniques, fix all the problems with it, full fresh coat of paint across the board, and also quality of life, any just like, the whole you couldn't break out, you had to find the last monsters when breaking out a legion, and now you don't need to, is like honestly a huge difference.
Yeah, that was me lastly. I'm just cycloning through the whole Legion and I'm just going back and forth over it multiple times being like, why won't you start? Because I haven't tracked down the last
Yeah.
monster hiding around the corner.
But we're trying to just make like quite good packages out of these upgrades, as opposed to just like, it would have been really easy to just fix the few, like that problem and a couple others with Legion, like getting rid of the icons, so you don't just have those arcade style reward icons covering your screen in domain, all that.
Yep.
But then we're like, well, while we're at it, new reward system needs it. And with the burst, we're also like, new pinnacle, why not? Because it needs it. And and we kind of hinted towards some ominous mastermind of Legion there, so you can already see we're heading in a direction towards
More to come.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
Oh, I like
I
it.
hope players enjoy the more grander reworks as opposed to like what would just get lost in a few almost bug fix patch note style things across the board. So even though some leagues, because I know a lot of people can go, what about this league? What about that league? What about, like, our idea is to just, we got a new league. Here's a couple of leagues we want to improve by giving them identity, fixing everything, addressing the gameplay concerns, and we're just going to cycle through them. And I'm sure by the time we get to the end, we have to go back to the start. So, Legion rework to 2029.
.com. There was a weird question from chat there. Can Foulborn unique mods become vestigial unique mods? That would be kind of wild.
No, I think that's the other restriction of the system. You cannot use the currency on corrupted uniques and you cannot use it on Foulborn uniques because it's sort of like a different sort of magic. You
Right,
can't-
yeah. Okay.
They've been defiled in their own way.
Yes. You're not crossing the streams there. Things would start to get pretty complicated pretty quickly with that sort of thing, wouldn't they? Another thing that's been reworked and indeed come back is Mercenaries. There's a long list of stuff going on in this expansion, isn't there? So to clarify, the base Mercenary mechanic is now that you fight them in a zone and then they help you for the rest of that zone, not that you can then like hire them permanently on any character, right?
Yeah, so they'll start showing up in Act 3. There is a change that we want to get in. It might not get in for the patch, but in the campaign, we do want to see if the Mercenary can follow you for multiple areas.
Oh,
But
like,
if you, so in the campaign, it's like you find them in.
yeah, you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that in endgame, would you? But like, in the
It doesn't
campaign-
really work because they have to go
Yeah.
from a combat area to a combat area.
Yeah, okay.
You can only have one temporary mercenary at a time still. So if you find a mercenary in one area and then the next area, you aren't taking a full party with you. But, yeah, undecided if that will get in time or not.
Okay. I did definitely notice that you have buffed them, like, because they're now this limited thing. It seems like you're just like, well, let's
Yeah.
make them ridiculous. Like,
Well,
they're stronger than me.
The main thing with temporary mercenaries is you cannot tweak their gear.
Yeah.
And because you cannot tweak their gear, we can make them much stronger than before because we don't need to balance around you giving them 1,000 DPS axes and
that-
Doyani's prototype and whatever else.
Yeah, they seem to be
So,
powerhouses.
The
I'm
good
like,
thing
oh,
is we
man.
can balance permanent mercenaries and temporary mercenaries completely separately.
Yeah, and that's really cool. And that's the other thing. So you can now get permanent mercenaries through the Luminary. And I feel like this is the most interesting, unique ascendancy possibly ever.
I feel like I maybe lied last time we added the last Scion class where I said we'd add another one after 13 years.
You did, yes.
Turns out it was 6 months. My bad, give or take. So sorry, apologies for the dishonesty.
I'll forgive you on this one.
But yeah, as you were going, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's like so the Luminary allows you to permanently hire a mercenary, and then there are like it's scaled back a little bit in that you need to say, oh, I care about them having unique gloves, so I'm going to allocate that point, or I'm going to mix and match those guys. So it seems like you've put some kind of effort towards making them a little bit more balanced, but this is like a super, I don't know, this is a super interesting ascendancy because it's got like a really long tail on it. Like you can keep finding new mercenaries as you go long term,
Yes,
right?
it's also interesting if you're not a luminary, because if you find a really good mercenary in a map, you can itemize it and trade it to a luminary.
Ah.
So there'll be a market for farming mercenary for other luminaries, assuming you know what the very
I
valuable
like all these little
mercenaries
micro
are.
markets developing.
I can't wait for someone to buy like an ultra expensive warrant, because that's what the tradable thing's called,
Yep.
the warrant. And then they're like, yes, I get to hire it, and then they just die.
Oh no!
I'm like, no.
You're evil.
But I thoroughly love where the Scions now ended up.
Yeah.
The 3 classes it has. You've got the Reliquarian, which we teased yesterday, day before, or something.
Yes,
the new
we've
set.
shown the new ones.
You got this, like all 3 classes. The Ascendant obviously is a bit more, but there's still many permutations, but still
Yeah.
3 very unique classes.
Yeah.
Insane build variety. It ended up just being amazing and special, and the Luminary just is the icing on the cake there, honestly. I'm looking forward to playing it. That's definitely my...
Yeah, I'm 50-50 at the moment what I'm going to play. It's either going to be a Flame Link mercenary, me using the Flame Link, or channeling Lightning Tendrils, which sounds weird, but there's stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's stuff.
I was going to say Andrew has adjusted over 100 skill gems for
Yeah,
this
I
patch.
think I still got a few dot buffs to do, but everything else should be in the notes.
That's literally our next topic. I've just got a couple mercenary chat questions before we move on. So, will mercenaries revive automatically if they die after changing zones, or do they need to be revived with gold still?
They still need to be revived with gold, and same system as before where they'll turn up in the next area.
Yeah. Okay. Did you guys like? I can't.
But their survivability has been... No, I don't think it's been messed with too much. I think it should be all good.
Okay.
You will need to, put defensive gear on them, I think. I can't remember. It was too long ago when I looked at the balance for the...
figure it out.
Did you guys improve the UI or something like that? I feel like it was a bit better or something. I don't know. It's hard to recall. Exactly.
We have added extra panels so you can see more
Yeah.
information about your mercenary.
Yeah, there was
So,
the passives
yeah.
and defenses and stuff.
So the
Tabs
defenses,
for them.
I think, used to be there, but we've added a new panel for their passive stats, which will show... Because mercenaries in the back end, they have effectively a fake passive tree,
Yeah.
which you couldn't see before, but it's very useful to know how many damage increases they're getting, how much crit multi they're getting, those
You can
inherent...
actually build them
yeah.
a bit more because you know what they're going to scale properly. Yeah.
There's 2 things about the Luminary that I think are worth... You're talking about passive stats, and it reminded me. There's 2 things about the Luminary. So the first thing is that what we found is people were playing the Luminary and then they'd find no mercenaries. So the campaign has... How many fixed spawns? 3?
4 areas, yeah.
Yeah. So some guaranteed ones. You're still,
Yep.
and the random ones are still there, so that you can't just I've played this class and I can't do anything. And then the second thing is in the campaign specifically, because you can't guarantee them with scarabs and invest into them always being there, they level up with you. So that the ones you do find earlier on will sustain for their skills get better, they get the passive.
Yeah, so when you're in an area, it's just matching their passive stats and their skill level to the current area level. But what it doesn't allow you to do is you cannot equip a high level item on a mercenary you found at level 30. So you can't give them high level items, but all of their passive stats and skills. I think this benefits spellcaster mercenaries a little bit more than the attack ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
but without that, honestly, it was a little bit dire. Leveling up as well.
Yeah, I ascended and I immediately found one in Scepter of God, which was the very next zone I went into. So I was like, and then since then I've done like, you know, 1 or 2 extra acts and I found like another 5 of them. I found one of the like the higher end, whatever the next tier of the mercenaries is called.
Infamous, yeah.
Yeah, I found an infamous kineticist and it's like,
Oh, that's the big money right
yeah,
there.
and then I went into another zone and there was one of the temporary ones. I got those guys and I was just like sprinting through the zone and he's like slamming, teleporting, and she's throwing bolts down everywhere. I'm like, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun. It's gonna be fun in endgame when you like get a good temporary recruit on top of your already luminarious.
I get to be a
recruited one as
support
well.
character without friends. my mercenary friends.
Absolutely. Will Trath and skill gems drop from mercenaries now, or they remain exclusively as a heist reward? It's another chat question.
Yeah, we've moved them back to mercenaries, so they no longer drop in heist.
That makes sense. You want each thing to have its own unique rewards after all. Will there be a forbidden flame and flesh jewels for luminary ascendancy nodes? Oh, I imagine not, right?
No, there won't be. Because
Wouldn't make
most of the
much
nodes
sense.
don't work unless you have the node that enables
And
you
then
to
there's
have
that
the
one that
mercenary.
would just be completely busted.
Yeah. So it's similar to Reliquary, and neither of those 2 ascendancies. You can still use the Ascendance ones, but yeah, you can't get the
Yes.
Reliquarian or Luminary ones.
Scion
makes
and
sense.
being a weirdo with her ascendancies.
Yeah, she's an edge case.
We were fun little thing that I'm sure. Well, so we were just discussing this before because you experienced it out here, where a lot of players probably have forgotten. But for those who remember the first time players have to actually go and unlock the Scion to be able to play the Scion.
Yeah, I had a fresh account here, so I was all of a sudden like, wait, what? I forgot about that.
You guys have removed the Scion? Because who actually remembers
Yeah.
that from whatever a decade ago?
Oh yeah.
So obviously when we announce a class like this, a lot of people who are going to start playing the game are going to be like, I wanted to play this thing and I don't know where it is and I don't know what to do. Almost certainly after this, we're going to go and make it so that the Scion is just unlocked by default at this point. We should be adding new interesting discoveries and unlocks, not like holding on to that when people might want to play this and come play the game and actually engage with the Scion straight away, and they don't have to. A new player shouldn't have to play to Act 3 to then reroll to do it. I know this is a thing that like isn't a huge deal
Most of
because
us unlocked it 15 years ago or something.
everyone just has done it, but like, yeah, it's easy to forget that even was a thing. So hopefully, yes, they don't have to play to Act 3 to then re-roll in order to play the class that they want to play. Which is a little bit sad because it was a fun thing at the time, but honestly, I forgot about it for 8 years or something. I don't know how long it's been.
Most of us did, indeed.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, you did some work on skill balancing. It seems like hand casting, aka self casting, was a big part of the focus. What was your kind of like goals with skill balance this time? What have you been working on here?
Yeah, well, it's a couple of words that keeps cropping up over and over again. So we sat down and had a look and figured out like what are the problems with hand casting. It's like what are all the different things we can change. I mean, the general thing from my point of view is I think hand casting is like not bad in the campaign and like early campaign, but I think it falls off quite a lot in the middle game. And it comes back online very, very late game because you have a lot of very unique interactions like life stacking, that type of thing, which can then push it to be like very, very competitive. So a lot of the focus here was adding more scaling into that mid game, especially.
Yep.
But also the fact that we have like hundreds, I think it was like 180 spells that were like viable, damaging spells that we could like were candidates for balance effectively.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have so much choice. Why would someone pick one spell over the other? So we've also done a focus of like trying to differentiate the spells a bit more based on like their inherent damage types.
Yeah.
So for example, like blade spells now have like 10% crit chance instead of 6%. So they're massively crit focused. Whereas fire spells have lower mana costs than other spells, but they have higher damage effectiveness, which sort of leans into them being very good for Ignite.
Yeah, I noticed you were doing more elemental distinction as well. Yeah, so like I saw similar kind of reasoning behind cold and lightning as well. Like lightning is faster, but higher mana cost.
Yeah, so lightning will be interesting because lightning has like all of the cast speeds are faster, but the mana cost is also higher. So
That's like a double whammy for
Yeah.
like how do you manage the mana on that, and then if you're doing Archmage things as well, especially. I mean, that can be a good thing. It's a good thing to have the higher mana cost potentially.
Yeah, I mean, Archmage doesn't scale off. I don't know. There's not a huge amount of things that scale off current mana cost anymore. I think there are a few, in which
Okay,
case
yeah.
that is actually a buff for those.
Yeah.
All those lightning
Like
spells.
unique or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a bit stronger distinction there. I saw you're also kind of like, any kind of pure ice spells are getting a chance to freeze, and I saw a chance to shock going in. It's like, yeah, why doesn't this skill have 25% chance to freeze?
Yeah, the annoying thing that I found with freeze is that like it's such an inherent part of a cold build's identity,
Yeah.
but most skills just can't freeze unless they invest into critical strike chance. So having a bit of like chance to freeze inherently on some of the very basic cold spells will make freeze actually be something that you'll notice early on in the game.
Cool, yeah. And it's not just that though. Like I definitely noticed some pretty substantial damage buffs for a lot of these skills too, which is important to like give a bit more diversity. I even noticed in the early game, it's like, I don't feel necessarily like I have to rolling magma quite so hard.
Yeah, I think there weren't a huge amount of like, to be honest, a lot of the changes were to the growth of the spells. Like for example, channeling spells because they don't have a huge amount of like different axes for scaling. We've increased like the damage growth on those, so their damage isn't like hugely different at like level 1, but it ramps up quite a lot more throughout the game. But we deliberately just nerfed Magma Orb very, very early game, just so you don't feel compelled to use that one spell. Please try something else.
The the curse of Magma Orb is finally over.
I mean, there'll be a new curse,
The most
but hopefully
weird, awkward
we'll
spell.
change it more frequently than we have with Magma Orb.
Curse of the Allflame.
So
Along that line, there is the classic, meta nerfs, so to speak, that we like to do every league. But Andrew's a specialist at just give me a giga spreadsheet of numbers, and he is the king of just change all the numbers of all the things. Like most people are like, oh, there's multiple hundreds of things to do here, like, and they're a little bit reserved. And Andrew's just like, yeah, all good. Let's go through every skill in the game. Let's do it.
Oh man, there's a long list of. It's going to be some long patch notes this time around for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not to say there aren't any like nerfs related to. Well, one of the things is because we're buffing a lot of the spells, I don't want to just buff every channeling spell in the game and everyone's like, oh no, I'm playing totems. No, I'm playing mines. So do note there might be some like counterbalance there.
Yes.
That's a good thing. Otherwise, you're not even necessarily then making people want to handcast, right? Like, obviously. So.
Yeah. Do you think that there might be a need in some areas for any sort of like mechanical changes to handcasting and channeling in particular?
Well, there is a dream, and the dream is cast while moving, but that is... I don't know if we'll ever see that in PoE1.
So that's a tricky one,
It
isn't it?
requires the new rigs, I assume.
We will someday.
One day.
One day.
That one's an actual long time away, though. That's not
Yeah.
but it will come. We've explained that a whole bunch of times. It's the exact same reason why there's no WASD.
Yeah, I see the question, and we've answered it before, the WASD question, but that's the same thing.
We
is that
understand
it
how-
kind of needs the rigging to work. It
We
just
understand how popular those things will be, and it will happen. It's just taking its time, and not due to us not caring. There is a whole department actively working on aiming towards this goal.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. So ironically, with the discussion and like a lot of the focus being on hand casting, self casting, and trying to make those better comparative to like triggered another means of getting spells out, which have been dominant in the past. There has still been a lot of questions about cast on crit and cast while channeling, and those feeling weak. Interesting. So it's especially like cast on crit players seem to be like lamenting the loss of awakened cast on crit, for example, and feeling like they're a lot weaker now, or that's a lot less viable. Is that something you've considered or looking at in the future at all?
There is this new node on Assassin, which is sort of insane for cast on crit.
Interesting.
If you're familiar with bifurcation, and I don't know if it was shown in the live stream, but if you're familiar with crits bifurcating in PoE 2, we've
thing.
pretty much ported the exact same mechanic back to PoE 1, which is especially effective on cast on crit.
That was a whole can of worms, that thing. I'm surprised you're good at opening that one again.
Yeah, cast on crit, I'm like, sort of just ignored this patch. Cast while channeling, though, feels a little more like you are casting it yourself, although you can cyclone, cast while channeling has received some buffs. I don't think cast on crit has really
Okay, yeah.
Like anything.
Apart from maybe something with Assassin.
Apart
there.
from Assassin might be very, very strong for it.
Yeah, I'll ask more about Assassin later, although before there was the exceptional support. We should probably touch on that. So you did the removal of the Awakened supports and then the new exceptional supports. And now that we've had that for a league, I'm just curious. I've seen some questions here and there about it, and I've seen people saying, especially like dot builds, maybe poison builds, I feel like they lost a lot from the transition. You know, they had a bunch of damage now before that they don't have now. They were kind of already something that was a bit capped in terms of damage.
The problem that a lot of those non-ailment dots have is there's very few mechanics that you can do something like super interesting with.
Yeah.
And previously, a lot of the old Awakened supports were just pure damage multipliers.
Yep.
All the supports they used were like Awakened Burning Damage, Awakened Deadly Ailment, or not that one, but Swift Affliction or whatever. So, yeah, they certainly did lose a little bit of damage at like the super endgame, but hopefully I'm undecided. Like I said before, we've still got some like, I've got a specific list of spell dot skills, which I haven't exactly figured out how I want to buff yet, because it could just be damage growth. But I think the correct answer is we add more different, it could be support gems, there could be just some in-game itemization that like adds extra axes of scaling to these skills. It was shown in the live stream, but one of the packs is very focused towards these.
Yeah.
The Pact of Gore, depending on like how many different types of non-damaging dot skills you use, you'll get like a huge bonus to their like damage. And
so there's still some stuff that's going to come in the patch notes as probably early next week. So the dot skills, as he mentioned.
Oh wow, this patch then.
Maybe, unless he decides not to. And we were even working on some keystones for casting that we haven't quite figured out. But the hope is to be able to do them. Like kind of one for fire, one for lightning, one for cold, something like that.
Wow.
No promises, but they're close. We're like 80% into solving it, and there's just a few bits left. But we didn't want to add something too kind of convoluted, and so just trying to find out how to simplify them and make them feel a bit more fundamental as opposed to just like a confusing mess. And if some of that can just be a matter of descriptions, which... Oh my God. Also, I don't know if people notice, but we have the hypertext system now in PoE1.
Yeah, the tooltips. Yeah. I definitely noticed that. I love tooltips.
I just remembered. I was like, we didn't talk about it.
I was like, wait a second, that's a tooltip right there.
On that note, though, we don't have everything. The system's there.
That's going to take time.
The new stuff has it. The old stuff going to require
slowly going to get updated.
Finding all the cases where it's necessary, writing all the text.
Yep,
linking them all. You can automate some of this once you have a keyword, which is what we call it internally.
Auto-highlight.
You can go look for all the places in the game that use that word that you're trying to keyword.
Yep.
But the actual writing of each individual keyword, that needs to be done manually by people who understand the systems, and is also very exacting because Path of Exile is a very precise game.
Exactly.
And so if you have slightly different wording, it can mean a wildly different thing.
We only let a few people in-house actually write these things because we want to make sure they're very consistent.
Yeah.
You see in some games where you've got descriptions and it's just, you look like each developer wrote their own variation of it. So we generally try and make sure these are done very precisely, because misinformation's way worse than almost no information, right? Like it just confuses people. So they're going to get filled in, but we're needing those specific people to be free to do it. But it's a good QOL addition to the game and good for onboarding as well. And so that's just random pivot, but I just remembered that when we were talking about the keystones and describing them.
I see chat bringing up nearby. Did we get that nearby?
Oh yeah, Andrew? I was going to mention
the highlight, the circle.
Yeah, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a restart patch, like a content update, maybe a week or two after release. And for that, I have a plan where I'm going to unify all the nearby keywords.
Oh.
So nearby, close, present, proximal, all of that stuff. And then it will all be keyworded, and you'll be able to highlight the keyword, and you'll get the nice little ring around your character.
I just want to clarify, because people got confused about last time. When he says restart patch, it just means a patch and where the realm goes off and then back up. Just to be clear.
Not resetting.
I saw last time people going, what do you mean there's a week one league reset?
As in, there are some changes that won't work unless the client has been restarted. So it just forces everybody off the game.
Eternal terminology leaking
It's
out.
about client server synchronous.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But
Oh, that's good news, though.
I've
Yeah.
seen us, we refer to it as a restart patch internally, and I see some people, rightfully so, misinterpret that as a economy restart or something. I'm like, no.
You don't need to do that for a tooltip.
No,
Not usually.
the new league mechanic tooltips.
So we've had the assassin rework, and how do you feel like that landed? And there was also kind of like linked questions about, well, we talked about cast on crit, but also like elusive, not feeling very good to build around. But I think before you could refresh it, but not anymore.
Yeah, I feel like when we reworked it, it landed a little bit too weak, which
Yeah.
is why we're making changes this patch.
Yeah.
Not just, well, it's mostly because it's an intelligence ascendancy, and so we can like put it under the umbrella of self-cast buff. But do
Nice.
note that the death marked node, the one that is applies assassin mark, that has also been massively buffed. So
Oh, cool.
if that node is much stronger for attack builds, then hopefully assassin is also viable for them too.
Control F assassin in the patch notes then. That's good news. Yeah, because I was doing a little bit of research on that, just kind of see where it landed, and ultimately it was like 2%. It seems like the shadow ascendancies in general are all a little bit low.
Yeah, I mean, we do sometimes look at PoE Ninja just to see like the
not
one
the
or two
absolute
ascendants.
authority on this.
No,
Yeah,
no.
we often have our, like, we make sure we address the least played class or two.
Yeah.
But because some of these, we just instead went with more of a, like, well, not to say they aren't, but folded into the hand casting thing and do spell casting adjacent stuff instead. So.
Yeah, related to the assassin questions, a few people have been asking about daggers and claws. Daggers in particular feel like they lack a bit of an identity. Like you would expect them to be the highest crit thing, but in many cases that seems to not be the case. And a lot of the times it's like, unless it's a unique, it's like, well, I should just use a claw instead. That's going to be better.
One of the things that's going to be in the patch notes is quite a lot of caster itemization changes, particularly to like staves and daggers and wands and scepters.
Okay.
So one of the things with daggers is they're implicits. We just had a look at them compared to like wands and scepters, and it's like you're kind of weak.
Yeah.
So all of the crit chance on dagger implicits has been buffed.
Nice.
And then the changes that were related to wands and scepters generally proliferate to daggers as well. So rolling caster daggers will have a bunch of improvements. As attack daggers versus attack claws, the only real change there is that daggers have slightly more crit chance.
Yeah, I imagine that's a bit out of the scope of this current one, since it's not the focus now, but something to look at in the
It's
future.
the
maybe.
same thing where we try and pick a package similar with the league reworks.
For sure.
Instead of just bits and pieces all over, we're like, what's something cohesive? So when you go hand casting, and then you kind of let it spread and affect things that are somewhat adjacent, but I mean, the players will then tell us what the next, like we almost always go off, as he said, when the word hand casting or self casting keeps coming up, that's how we ultimately decide, here's what we're doing next. So ultimately we just keep paying attention to what people think is not in the right spot, and then we go, okay, how are we going to turn that into a package, a rebalance package? And that's kind of how we go about doing it, to be honest. So let us know is the answer.
Well, I mean, that's the next question is about defenses on ranges. Obviously not in the scope of this patch, so no one expects anything in that regard. But it's maybe a good one for the future to look at. Defenses on the ranger build archetypes, especially with bows, it seems to be, is kind of the topic here. And I had some prolonged discussions with a few people about this one. So I have some extra context on this if needed, but the main takeaway seems to be that ranger defense suppression, namely, was nerfed as a result of other classes heavily investing in it, which is like a good thing to do because you don't really want like the build checklist of like, oh, I have to get suppression on every single build was obviously a problem. So that was like nerfed in, I believe, 3.2.7, and there was some stuff before that as well. So while probably good for other builds balance, Rangers seems to be lacking in their own way to make up for that. And evasion seeming kind of increasingly weak with less benefits to stacking it than other things like armor and energy shield. And other defensive layer options in that kind of archetype seem to be highly conditional, or they have some really big downsides. And the ascendancy options are really high in point investment typically. A lot of them are 4 pointers, where other things in other classes would be 2 points, and also highly conditional. It's like, don't get hit or you don't have any defenses kind of thing. So I was wondering if that's like an area that you might be interested in looking at in the future, or something you've been tracking.
I mean, if the player base agrees and then we look into it, which, I mean, you're primarily correct, yes, then that will turn into our next package, right? Like, we pay attention to it during this league, by the way. And then we go, okay, you got this, this, and this. What one are we going to focus on? Maybe we can do a second. So, again, that is a worthy candidate for sure.
Yeah, I haven't played an evasion build in like 2 or 3 leagues.
That might be a good indicator.
I can't remember how good the defenses were. I remember the philosophy of that change was basically that like a lot of the investment in the ranger area of the tree should be able to get suppression back to the level that it was pre-nerf.
Yeah.
If that isn't the case, we can probably do more there.
Yeah.
You'd want to adjust things that are like solely the domain of that kind of build, right?
Yeah.
So like pure evasion bases or maybe quivers, something like that. If you're talking about bow builds being a problem specifically.
It could be we do it more
ascendancy
dex.
stuff.
Like if you dexterity focused kind of defenses pass plus weapon distinctions. Like if you're talking about attack claws and daggers, like I can already see this coming together and becoming a bit of a thing. So even if it's not just defensive, it could just be something to do with that.
Since we were kind of talking about like the daggers and claws and stuff, that's also in that similar area. So I wonder if that's like there's a package kind of in that area.
I can see that. I could see that coming together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's always going to be people that disagree on like what's the next area that should be focused on, but that's one that got brought up by someone whose opinion I kind of trust on that topic.
I do agree that I don't think PoE 1 has super good identity between different types of weapons, because like if you're a slayer, it's like what's the difference between using a 2-hand sword axe or mace? Really, there's like a few mastery options, a couple of different implicits.
And that's a fun thing to improve too. Like it results in things being more interesting typically whenever that sort of stuff is addressed. So
I mean, one of the benefits of having this, cadence where we have the split teams with, designers fully dedicated to PoE 1 is we have the time and resources to address these kinds of problems.
Yeah.
We can do much more significant balance shakeups every league if we want to.
That's clearly evidenced by this patch with the gigantic delve into the various problem areas. It's good news for sure. Production, can we scroll past this part? Yeah, a bit down further. Thank you. Cool. Another thing that got mentioned that I don't know if it was mentioned at all so you mentioned something about Vaal orbs, and this is connected to this. So synthesis, you mentioned something's happening with synthesis modifiers.
Oh yeah, we're just getting rid of them.
Nice.
That is the thing that's happening.
Good riddance.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the synthesis unique items are still unchanged. They still can get synthesis implicits, but we've never really liked they're just like item bloat, and they don't really have a specific home in the game currently. So why have synthesis implicits when you also have Vaal implicits, and it sort of removes the identity of implicits on like weapons, for example.
So the whole identity was you take multiple for those who maybe remember the league, you take multiple items explicits mods and put them as implicits on something. Like the whole idea was that you're turning explicit mod power into implicits, and then we removed that conversion process and then just had... So really what it just looks like is there's just a random amalgamation of different modifiers that are implicits on these items. But it's like, you never synthesized it. It's just an item. So even like just immersively, it's just like, or narratively, or in world, it's like, what does this even mean? Now that there's no actual crafting bench to achieve it that synthesis had during its league forever ago. But yeah, then it's just like, okay, now you've just got this amalgamation of so many different stats that are just contesting with designs, well, ultimately blocking design space, and they don't really have a purpose. So like we just eradicate it so we can free up some, make some of these other things more powerful, or free up some design space to be able to do some more stuff in the future.
Which we then did immediately use, right, Andrew?
Yeah. So
Tell me more.
Well, I guess that's sort of like the vestigial items, but those are unique, so they don't really compete with synthesis bases. But the main thing we did is we took most of the interesting, powerful synthesis implicits and turned them into Vaal corruption implicits.
Yeah, so
you can corrupt a ring and get +1 frenzy charge, for example.
Well, that's a potential big buff to Vaal orbs. Then it seems like that's a much more interesting thing.
You'll see it in the patch notes, but in doing like the Abyss changes, we've ordered all the mods on Abyss jewels, and we've removed bad ones, buffed weak ones. Same for all the Vaal
I think we got
corruption
rid
on
of
plus
the
X.
increased damage versus abyssal monsters one, right?
Yeah, I think
That's gone.
I think I petitioned you to
Nice.
get rid of those like years ago, and now
Finally.
I didn't even ask you this
Come on,
time. I
man.
just removed it.
Yeah, get rid of them. I don't know why I ever would have defended that. Fever dream.
Memory hole.
One of those days. Did you ask me before 10 a.m. and I hadn't had enough caffeine? It's,
I can't remember.
You can't do that. I need
Anyway,
that for
it's
a
a
reason.
very long time ago.
That's the right answer.
Yes. I mean, that's a very juicy buff to double corruptions. There's going to be some fun double corrupting actually
Yes.
coming out of that.
It also means you can no longer mirror the best items in the game anymore.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, this is the sort of change that affects, like, very, very pinnacle high-end crafting, because,
The
like,
only-
you can't get those crazy bases to craft on now.
The only small reservation is it sort of removes a little bit of the value from the leagues that actually did, for some reason, drop synthesis items. So, for example, Ritual
Which is everything
and
but
Heist.
synthesis, let's be clear.
Yeah. So those might be the next leagues in the future on the, like, let's audit their rewards, make sure their
Yeah.
exclusive rewards are, like, much more powerful and
Well,
interesting.
It somewhat bounces in the other direction, though, because there's a lot of leagues that'll generate corrupted items as outcomes, and now those can be much more of a jackpot, right?
True. Yeah. Well, so part of my follow-up question was, like, it was at some point mentioned that we would get the ability to add synthesis item drops back to synth maps, because that was always, like, one of my favorite things. It's like, it's such a high variance, fun win thing. It's like, oh yeah, man, rings are dropping with synthesized implicits. Like, that's awesome. So now obviously that's not going to be happening since they're not a thing anymore. Is there something that synthesis maps could get to make them have their own unique reward? Are they even a candidate for that kind of, like, are they a system enough?
Well, they're sort of under the umbrella of unique maps being very old and being not very good. And we would love to just, like, completely redesign all of them and
Yeah,
do
they're
them
getting
properly.
sad. They're getting real sad.
Yeah.
It came up as part of the Atlas anomaly discussion. You know, there was a point where we were like, should all unique maps just be Atlas anomalies? And should we then do a pass on all the unique maps to make them more worthy? And it was just too much of a rabbit hole of work at the time. You know, it was maybe a month before release, and that's not not the point in the development cycle where you can make that kind of decision.
Yeah.
I will mention one thing, though. Doyani's Machinarium is no longer required for challenge completion. However, Doyani's Delusion, the unique boots that drop from the map, have been, like, they always drop corrupted with an implicit, and they've been massively buffed. So
Oh.
they're very high variance. So you'll want to run that map to find some
Yeah, that's fun.
potentially crazy boots.
Awesome. So we recently had some of the bigger Chaos Orb sinks removed, probably causing the quick spike to 300 plus Chaos to Divine ratio that was in Mirage, compared to the more typical 150-ish that we had in Keepers and before that. So I'm curious, like, is this something you guys really look at or care about too much? Or are you like, the economy's going to economy? Like, what are your thoughts about it? What are the impacts on players of this sort of change? Like, if you have an economic shift like that, is it something you care
Yeah,
about?
too much.
I mean,
Not if it's too.
That's the
like,
impression I've got in the past.
If
Is
that
like
was
you like,
3,000, whatever, obviously, the magnitude matters.
Yeah.
It's, not to say it isn't a thing we might want to consider. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, it's not a huge deal for sure. Not unless it actually spirals out, like, out of control.
yeah, there's this thing with the economy that, like, from your guys' perspective, I get the sense that, like, well, this is kind of like the player's domain a bit more. We don't want to necessarily influence it too much all the time.
Yeah, maybe the new de facto currency will be chromatic orbs. You never know.
Could you
Like,
imagine? Oh my
Yeah.
Lord.
I don't know, not to be contradictory or anything, but, like, I don't personally have much of a horse in the race of the economy part of this, but I really like there being sinks for things because I like things leaving the economy, thus allowing things to retain value over time. You know, it's
Yeah.
one of the main reasons that I, like, personally play hardcore trade over other leagues, because things leave the economy.
Yeah.
So would I want more chaos sinks in the game? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I want them in the game because there's a ratio of chaos to divines that's wrong in some way? No. It's just because it's good for the game generally.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it is sad when the Chaos Orb as a drop now feels weak,
Yeah.
right?
I think
That
that's
is sad.
That's the most compelling argument that I see when I'm thinking about this, because I usually ask people, when people think about, like, have you seen the economy ratio? And I'm like, well, why do you think it's a problem? And the answers I get are varied and not always super convincing. But the most convincing one that I hear is that the players who are picking up Chaos Orbs aren't getting that kind of, like, incremental progression towards their thing. Like that's like that appeals to me. I feel for the normies being one myself.
The fewer items that are satisfying to drop.
Yeah.
Like if it only becomes here's the only 2 items you care about that drop, that's bad. So yeah, we do have to keep as many drops as possible feeling satisfying, and that is the main motivation to go, okay, if it's crossing it's a grey line, it's like weird, but if it does cross the line, then, or I mean, I guess it's not even really a line, it's just the more items we can keep satisfying, and thus you could argue, yes, this is something that we should push for fixing for sure.
That said, we have added a couple
I'm
of
bearing
new,
the lead.
Yeah, so we've added 2 new crafts. Andrew did the balance on them, so.
Oh, only the costs. That might be wrong. We'll find out.
There's bench orb crafts for chaos orbs now. I saw.
Yes, they behave. I mean, if you're familiar with the PoE2 Chaos Orb, where it removes a mod then adds a mod, there's one that does that, and then there's one that removes 3 mods and adds 3 mods. So you can kind of use these to try and salvage items that have a really good mod that you want, but a bunch of other trash.
Interesting. It's hard to tell the impacts or like how much that'll be used, but it's an option there. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that's gonna sink a few chaos orbs. I saw that one of them was like 8 chaos or something.
We'll keep an eye on it. I wouldn't want chaos to become pennies, you know? That's which you could argue they're 1/3 of a penny right now, I guess, depending on what your
you call it divine a dollar?
Depends what your dollar is, I guess. Well, I would argue the divine is somewhat of a dollar. But we'll keep an eye on it as well. But again, the ultimate philosophy is we should be keeping as many drops as possible feeling satisfying. That's the goal. So anything that goes away from that is technically in the wrong direction. It's just, it can get a little bit away from it without us having to take action. And sometimes there are short-term things that influence, not to say that that's what's happened here.
Yeah.
And then they just course correct next league. And sometimes there are things that are needing addressing. I don't have an exact answer for it now, which is why I'm kind of being a little bit vague, because we need to discuss and figure out what to actually do. Hard to promise things at this point, but yeah.
Well, we've kind of touched on it a little bit a few times, but Bestiary is had to have seen some changes to its beast crafting. You also mentioned like the specific beasts are dropping specific talismans as well. Side note on that, is that something you can target farm in some way since they are specific?
Yes, so every single red beast has its own specific talisman it drops.
Yeah.
So for example, if you want like a Rex talisman, then there is the node on the Atlas tree that increases the chance for like beasts from that specific genus to spawn.
That's a cool little buff for
so
those.
Yeah, you can... a Rex just looks like a some sort of mammal to me, but yeah, it is
a bird.
Okay.
Is it a bird? It's a bird. You can
no
plus
idea.
birds. The more likely for the bird species, I'm pretty sure will increase the Rexes. But I didn't actually ever think about how clear the correlation between the genus and the actual monsters is. So I guess it's fine. Whatever.
One of you mentioned to me that beast splitting is gone. That's obviously a big change for some folks. It's a big crafting thing that was used for some high-end crafting projects or just getting extra value out of certain drops, I suppose, in some cases. So talk us through the removal of the beast splitting.
Well, the main thing is I feel like historically beast splitting was never really intended for, or has never really been used for its original intention of splitting the mods from one item onto 2 items. It's almost always just been used for, I just found the most valuable base type in the game in Heist, and now I have 2 of them.
I mean, it came about because we were looking at the fact that we don't want every simplex amulet to become 2, right? Like that was where this came in. We started discussing it and we were just like, is this even healthy at this point? Like, just ultimately every base type that's of value becomes 2 base types of value. And I get that it's just taking away the value, but it also just honestly isn't necessary at that point.
And worth noting, Fractured Fossil has also been changed.
Okay. I mean,
because that does a similar thing.
It fractures the item now, like the name suggests.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't fulfill its original purpose. I could see people being a bit like, oh, no, but I liked having 2 of everything I found.
Yeah, but
I mean, there's also like, what if you just doubled the frequency of them appearing and removed it? Not to say we've done
Like,
that,
even
by
if
the
you
way.
don't, it's like the thing you get now is worth like, 1.5 times as much or whatever the difference in the cost of
Yeah.
the beast splitting was. Like, it was just priced into the economy of it anyway. Like, so it just became this kind of like obligationary step that you just had to know about, otherwise you were scamming
Yes,
yourself.
Yeah.
And in many ways, the new Allflame crafting is splitting items
Sure.
in a
Somewhat.
sort
Well,
of way.
if you want to do the original intent of the
You can only
split
keep
Yeah,
one
it's
of them.
closer to the original.
there's a Ducat that's very
true.
similar to that,
That's true.
which splits it into a bunch of ghostly forms that each have some of the item or one of the mods in the
so
original item, and then you pick one.
You can take the mod set you want. That's a cool idea. That
Yeah,
one.
so like that is closer to what the beast was originally intended to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Isolate a strong mod to then craft from.
But noting on the case of Bestiary, I know Octavian, you share this as well, but both of us probably. I don't know how you feel about it. It's our top on our top list.
Oh yeah, even
Your number one. It's my number one for like.
our programmers keep asking me when are we gonna get.
Oh God,
It's a dire rework.
it is a rat's nest, man,
Yeah.
on the back end. Like when we added that scarab that added the new beast, the Black Morrigan, like that was just add a unique beast that has a few crafts, and that was like 2 weeks worth of going
Yeah.
back to it, fixing a bug, going back to it, fixing a bug, because it's
Sad.
Yeah.
It is
it's
the
a bit older, that
number
one.
one league that's in a dire need of a rework in our eyes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Monsters are old, the combat's old, the bosses are old, the crafting system has gone through so many different identities and different things to the point where I honestly think it's like kind of lost a bit of its groove.
I mean, what I
Yeah.
will say is it's a very strong concept, though. Like going and
Yeah.
capturing beasts,
Yeah.
like wild spirit beasts,
Yeah,
is really
that's
cool.
worth
And that's
figuring
kind
them
of
out.
why the very original pitch for this league was like, go back to that theme. So we'd want to keep the strong theme, but
Yeah.
I know that one we all agree. I don't know how players necessarily feel,
Well,
but
yeah, I mean, I definitely have had questions about that, especially on the quality of life side of things. And since you're already thinking about that, it'd be worth mentioning those now. So people like, particularly like just with hitting the limit of beasts and then like having to empty them out, there has been some improvements there, but it seems like it's still like just a big problem for people that are
honestly,
actually trying to engage with the mechanic.
we've been doing kind of weak level band-aids for a while there, because the actual solution is quite a lot of work, and we keep going to do it, and we're like, can we really afford to spend this much time on that instead of? And there's all this like cool content stuff, and every time we're weighing the scales, it's like, it's not quite there. And so this is where I'm like, okay, in order to actually do this, we have to make Bestiary the focus. So we have to go, this is the rework, and then we'll be able to do all of this stuff. But it's surprisingly more work than it might seem.
because
Yeah.
if you do it in that way where you're making it a focus and you're, revamping a lot of the content as well, then you're not having to choose between do I fix these problems or make cool content. You're just fixing the problems while making
Yeah.
the cool content.
Yeah.
Make
yeah.
League good.
Something that I saw kind of like asked is like proposing the idea is like, do yellow beasts even really matter and need to be a thing like they are? Like, what if they just kind of dropped a life force beast juice or something
Discussed
like
this
that?
recently as well.
Interesting.
Well, this was part of the original spec where we'd basically wanted to say that yellow beasts still appear in maps
Yeah.
as extra monsters, but Ironheart doesn't capture them. And then all of the recipes just require a red beast,
Yeah.
and he'll spawn some random other beasts alongside
Nice.
when you do an encounter.
When I imagine
But-
modernizing past, that's kind of what I imagine. Yeah.
The only problem is that is a lot of programmer work, actually.
Yeah.
Every solution we came up with was like, all right, we've done all the like 1 day tasks. Now we're in the many day to week tasks, and we're like, it's just getting so. Again, it will be a focus
I
soon.
wonder if that makes it a candidate for more of like a Bestiary 2.0, like a more substantial thing, since it is going to be so much work anyway. Just untangle that. Like,
Not necessarily as an active league, though it could
Yeah.
be, but I'd say currently still probability wise, it's more likely for just a rework, similar to like Abyss and Legion this
Yeah.
time round.
Yeah.
It'll be here's the new league, here's a Bestiary rework. Insert other things here.
we've got some rapid fire kind of quality of life and technical questions here. EU servers seem to be having some major issues each league launch and maybe beyond that from what I've heard. Any news on sources of that issue or potential improvements on the horizon?
None of us three know about that, unfortunately. So, Jonathan handles that with our more live ops and sysadmin team. So we just don't know, honestly,
Yeah.
what's going on. Like,
I'll ask him about it then.
Yeah, that is the better thing to do for sure.
I'll get on it. We talked about the tooltips. Excellent. In-game price checking was added to PoE 2. Is that something you're planning on adding to PoE 1 as well?
Almost all of that. Well, yes. Don't know when. Same with like price checker, build planner, which I guess is a bigger
build
thing.
planner. Yep.
There's some complexities around it. Like we are trying to as from the helper text thing. We just got that ported over, so we're slowly porting stuff over. But often the best person to do it is the person that implemented it, right? And it makes sense to port it. But those people are working on PoE 2, big upgrades. So we've got to find these like windows where they're like kind of between tasks where they can migrate it over and make it work. Otherwise, you're having someone who doesn't know that code base at all trying to maneuver it over, and they don't understand the, parts of it that are less important and more important necessarily. And they can figure it out, but it would just take a lot more time. So we try and find these lulls between major tasks for them where they can go and port stuff back.
Yeah.
And we just need to do some of that, really. So.
And those are the sorts of things that work towards the goal of like, you don't really have to install third-party software to play PoE if you're a long-term player. That's ideally the outcome there. And that got me thinking about that. There's two features of Awaken Trade that I would keep me using it, even if you had the in-game price checking that was working just as well. And those are /hideout macro, the ability to like return to your hideout quickly. And the second one is the control scroll wheel your stash has without being moused over it, because that exists in game, but you have to mouse over it, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Interesting.
So I'm just wondering if like those are things that could just become core behaviors.
Well, the latter one, I can just go and talk to some UI programmers and see whether we can do that.
Both are fully feasible.
Please do.
The first one I'm less certain of, but
we added it. Well, why not? It's just a chat command.
I think in PoE 2 there's a return to hideout button if you go to someone's hideout to trade. I don't know if that's in PoE 1 currently. So that might be just like a little gap.
Also,
to fix.
Similar to how we bound use town portal. Like
it could be a hotkey,
we could have
right?
a return to hideout.
That would be amazing.
Or just a go to hideout. Obviously it won't always work. Like if you're in an area where hideout doesn't work, it won't work.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
And maybe then do one for like, / King's March or whatever the one is that brings you to King's March. And
that's kind of the one I use the second most if I'm playing that.
Half your keyboard just teleports you.
Yeah, we've got a lot of hotkeys, but these could be optional ones, I suppose.
Some are more used than others, right?
Yeah.
So we'll start with those ones before we add a whole ruckus of.
Oh, that'd be amazing. If the control scroll wheel is possible as well, that'd be awesome, because that's just like when you're transferring stuff from your inventory, you're moused over there. You don't have to mouse over to change tabs and then back and forth. That'd be awesome. Oh, great. Awesome news. The Total event caught me by surprise. Trial of the Ancestors. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise. How did that one come about? And just kind of like, just quickly, kind of, what are your thoughts on it? Any useful takeaways? Learn some useful stuff about
Well, we wanted to just have like a variety of different events we can run. And it was like, we don't want to just keep doing the same thing. And so it kind of was like, okay, we've had this and this. Like we even discussed at the time going, could Mercenaries be an event format? And we went through all the different options. And then I think there's been a bit of because Trial of the Ancestors effectively got dismantled after the league.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's gonna be so much work to bring it back. Turns out wasn't that much work.
Yep. It took a programmer like 1 day to revive it.
Yeah. Ended up being way quicker than we had expected. So we were like, well, let's just do it, run it as an event. I know people have been craving it, but let's actually see if it's more nostalgia fueled or otherwise. But yeah.
It's one that I see, like, some people just like they tried it here and they're like, nah, I don't get it, I don't like it. But then I see other people, like I was reading a thread about it today, and they're like, I love this, like I want them to make it core. Like this seems to, some people really fall in love with this mechanic. So is it something you want to make core at some point still?
We're on ultimately we were like, do we keep it as like a kind of event thing, and that way certain people play it because they love it and others won't, or I guess there is still the room to integrate it into core and do a bunch of stuff around that, as long as it's obviously, you don't have to do it, right? It's like, if you like that, similar to say Heist, if you are into Heist, there's always a crowd that loves these different things, then you can go do that. And if you don't want to do it, then just ignore it. So as long as it's in that format, because it is quite specialized content.
Super.
Like it's just totem rugby.
The most of anything, I think, the most specialized.
So, it has a place. We just need to talk about it and figure out where we want it to be.
Could we scroll down a little bit, production, just so I can see those questions down there? Do the Ducats increased intangibilities? There's some random chat questions we have here. So
Depends on the Ducat.
Depends.
Yeah, every
Depends.
currency is just set by myself as to whether or not it does or doesn't. There are a lot of lower level currencies that you would use at lower levels more frequently don't. So like an alchemy orb doesn't increase intangibility, but things that you're using when you're finishing an item often do. So like an exalted orb, for instance.
Can replica unique mods become vestigial unique mods?
Yep.
Yeah, that seems like it would be legal, unlike the other
Those
ones.
are legal.
Yeah, because they're just they are just a unique.
There are some interesting things you can do because you can take a replica unique and then it can roll into the non-replica version of the unique and then it can, in some cases, it can have basically 2 of the similar mod.
Interesting.
the same
That's kind of
item.
wild. I imagine you can't create a replica unique though, because they're from a specific piece of content, same as boss drops.
Yeah, we didn't want to do the
You don't want to cheat that.
getting all the boss drops and no one's even killed the bosses.
It's no good.
The things it can create are the things you can ancient orb an item into.
Yep.
Nice. That makes sense. Can we get log into hideout or so like that option that logs you back into your hideout? I think PO2 has that.
As much as no one's gonna like the answer, no. Their logging into town is important for us.
Yeah.
And probably for reasons people won't like. But ultimately, like just to express it, it is ultimately we want the game to feel like a multiplayer game, and we want you to log into a hideout and see other players and be part of this universe where there are other players. And as soon as you can just bypass that, and again, I know people aren't going to like that answer, but that's just where we stand on it. And not to say it. I used to say it a lot more, but my answer is kind of deal with it.
Deal with it.
But I know that's not going to be a popular take for sure.
Will we eventually be able to switch out gear in the recently teased Animate Guardian UI? The teaser has locks in the UI indicating that we can't take items out. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, the Animate Guardian we sort of just got that in like a week or 2 ago. So at the moment, it's just very bare bones. You can right click the icon and you can see what items are equipped on your Animate Guardian.
Yeah.
You still have to go through the really jank process of dropping the item on the ground and using the skill on it to actually equip it.
Yep.
We do want to actually change that so you can just drag and drop items.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if we'd want to allow you to remove items that are on an Animate Guardian.
No, that's fair. I imagine it'd be like Mercenary. You can put them over. Yeah, fair enough. I think that leads to my final question of today, which is ExileCon is fast approaching, and I think in many people's eyes, it's a lot about Path of Exile 2. It's a big event to announce the big stuff for PoE 2, but is there some stuff that PoE 1 fans should be excited about for ExileCon? Is that a focus? Is something happening there?
For sure. It's not PoE 2 con, it's ExileCon, right? We've got 2 main games, 2 titles, right? And of course, ExileCon will have a thing for PoE 1 and for PoE 2. And I actually saw some people, just before the stream was started, I saw a few people going, last PoE 1 patch for the year. And I went, no, it's not. There is a 3.30. It will be before the release of PoE 2. And so... it's crazy to think there's that many expansions.
I know, right? I was talking about this with Jonathan earlier. It's like there's been 30 expansions since the 3 series, right?
Yes, we will have another PoE 1 expansion. Already cooking up some awesome ideas, and I'm sure they'll release it. I'm sure next Saturday for us, we will be able to nail it down mostly. But some pretty cool stuff in the works, or to be in the works fully, since these guys are wrapping up. But yeah, should be epic. PoE 1, PoE 2, big end of year for us. Absolutely monster of an end of year for everything Path of Exile related. Yeah,
absolutely. Excellent. That's fantastic news. Exactly what we want to hear. Well, thank you very much, all of you, Andrew, Octavian, Mark. Thanks very much for the Q&A time.
Thank you very much, and awesome job, you two, by the way.
Awesome job to you, Ziggy.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, yeah. It's a banger of a patch.
Absolutely.
Exciting.
All right, see you guys later.